Welcome in, everyone, to episode 5 of Rivals and Rants, and I finally said it with both S's. Let's go. We have the Ignite qualifiers that just finished up this past weekend for Split 1. Now we have Split 2 coming up this week. A lot of action entailed for that, but we also have the Season 2.5 update that is dropping on Friday. There's a dev blog, there's updates for hero balances, so much information to digest, and I have a great panel of people to help me do just that. We have Cuffy from Nightmare, the new coach for that team, who was picked up by, is it Arius or Eris? I've never known.
You know what's crazy? I hear people say both. I say Arius, but then Arius. I know Gatsby, our manager, said Eris, so I don't know, but it's one of them.
Okay, one of those two, but picked up by Nightmare, now going to be in Ignite. Also, speaking of Ignite, we have, I'd say the captain, but mainly the main voice of Zero Tenacity's roster over in EMEA. It's Knuten. And Knuten, how are you feeling yourself about like being involved in this scene already?
I mean, like I'm excited, of course. Being invited and all that, it's a great step ahead already, right? And it gives us more time to practice, more time to prepare. So we have a great advantage, and we're gonna use it 100%.
Love to hear it. And we have the man, the myth, the legend, F. here from New York, all the way transplanted in Atlanta, been involved in esports for over a decade now in all aspects of it. You don't really need an introduction, but why don't you introduce yourself to those who might not be familiar with you?
Well, thanks for the kind words. Yeah, that's me. I'm an esports boomer at this point. Been around for a jump, mainly in the world of like MOBAs and Rocket League for a bunch of years. But the world of like MOBAs, I think, translates over to what I've seen in the Rivals scene. And this is the first game that I'm sinking like too many hours to admit into in a long time. I'm not showing you my playtime, but I'm all in, and seeing MRC and MRI kind of spin up has been really, really dope.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you all here to kind of talk about the results that have happened this past weekend, talk about the stage 1, which actually starts next week, which is insane. Let's talk about the schedule here for everyone who might not be aware. I personally was not aware that this was even posted in the Marvel Rivals Season 2.5 kickoff Dev Vision Volume 0.06. That's the full title of the YouTube video if you want to find where this graphic was. I'm throwing Jesse for a loop. Sorry, Jesse is our producer on this one. But like, this is the stage 1 schedule that we have. So we have the open qualifiers, of course, that started last week, but now are going into kind of the beginning of June-ish. Ends on the 31st. It's really the 1st is when they're doing the actual qualification match. But next week on the 5th is apparently when Ignite starts for the regular season, all the way on to the 22nd. So next Thursday is when we get our first piece of Ignite action, which is insane to think about. It's that soon, and we still don't know the exact format. Group stages, that's all we've been told so far, which is pretty cool. And then playoffs June 19th to 29th for that. I don't know if that includes the mid-season thing that they're doing, or if they're just doing playoffs. And then there's a mid-season thing where other invitees from each region compete in. We don't know all the details, and it's a week out that the season starts. Please, NetEase, let us know what's happening there. But I mean, from those that are participating in it, Knuten and Cuffy, how do you feel that it's literally just a week away that the first regular competition starts? It's insane.
I mean, like, yeah, it always goes faster than expected. You know, you look at the like timesheet, and you're like, we have plenty of time, right? You blink, and then it's gone, and then you have to get ready for the game plan.
That makes sense. Yeah. What about you, Cuffy, from like the coaching perspective of things getting prepared for Nightmare?
That's what I was gonna say. I think coaching's a bit of an interesting one because we share the same excitement as players, but there's always things to improve on. And with a 2-week period or like, you know, a 10-day period of time, you have to sort of think about what is the most urgent things you can work on, what's realistic. So there is a lot of pressure, but I feel like I thrive under that pressure. So.
On the other hand, you know, as the watcher, as the caster, as the fan, like, hurry up and play. Like, I'm down, you know, like, just let's get into it. But kind of, I'm only half joking, but jokes aside, it's also, you know, you gotta start sometime. Once the season's rolling and you have 1 into 2 into 3, you get used to how much time you have off. Then right here, you just got to pick, like, just start. So yeah, guys are scrambling. There's not a lot of time to figure it out, but just like get the wheels under you, hit the season, and then later on it becomes more predictable. But essentially you're creating the NFL, right? What's the first day? Like, figure it out. So here we are. Sorry for the football reference, for the American football reference, guys.
That's not acceptable. I'm so lost now.
I think those are fine. Again, it's like you're starting out with any sort of league that's out there. You got to start somewhere, and getting it out of the way as quick as they are is a good thing. They are also able to like work through some of the bugs and kinks that they figure out along the way for like the next iteration of Ignite if they continue with this specific format next year. So we'll see exactly how well things go or how receptive some of the teams and players are. But we did get to see how there was at least 4 teams per region: Oceania, China, Asia, EMEA, and Americas were able to qualify through an open qualifier called Split 1, which is confusing because like stage 1 is basically a split 1 like we would have in other esports. Either way, I digress. Jesse, if you want to bring up the teams that qualified from OCE, we recognize at least one organization that qualified from that, and that is Ground Zero Gaming. They did not get a direct invite because they did not place high enough in MRC from what I remember seeing. So a lot of different orgs did get direct invites from the Marvel Rivals Invitationals or MRC performances. Ground Zero Gaming, they just destroyed. They didn't even like drop a single game the entire time. And you can see for the most part, most of these teams did the exact same in OCE. But the one thing I want to bring up here before we move on to the next spot, OCE only had about like 35 teams sign up for open qualifiers, where the max was 512. Is it just OCE doesn't have that much depth yet here?
Yes.
Tuffy, or like, what are we feeling on this one?
It really is quite interesting. I would say it probably is related to interest. You do see like in regions there is gonna be a different level of interest in games, and it's interesting to see this play out because I can't really tell why OS is like this, but it is. So
yeah, I mean, maybe it's part of the reason why that you have to have a certain rank to be able to even sign up for the tournament. We had the most teams in North America, almost 300, but still not even towards that cap. And you had to be at least Grandmaster 3. I keep trying to say Grand Champ because I'm from Rocket League, and that's what my mindset's always towards. But Grandmaster 3 was the minimum rank you had to be able to participate in this. And that kind of just goes to show how this is like tier 1 compared to MRC, where it's Plat 3 now instead of Gold, that you had to have to participate in that as well. So makes sense why there was a bit less teams. Congrats to these rosters. Jesse, if you want to show the players so we can at least show off the players that did manage to qualify as well. Here's the teams that you can see their specific rosters and know exactly who of your favorites that you might play with and rank sometimes or just watch on streams were able to qualify for that. And again, Ground Zero Gaming, Quetzal, Xavier Hope, and Bethany were the teams who made it. China, of course, you can't watch any of the matches in the client unless you are on the China-specific client. But they had some matches that were all sweeps on their side. FL Esports, the only organization that I did see tweet out that had a roster that picked up a team there for China. Fist.S was another team who qualified. LDGM and Brother Team. And Ep.5, I want to ask you about this. So with Overwatch, from what we've seen, you know, China teams and players have been very dominant, and I've heard rumblings that we might see something similar with like Marvel Rivals in general. Do you think there's going to be kind of a one-to-one transition with that, or maybe some different adaptations there?
Not one-to-one, because this isn't the same game as Overwatch. True. But like maybe a 0.9 to 1. Like realistically, one of the cool things about seeing this new era of esports as we jump into the, you know, to this halfway through this new decade is that like you've got a world of new games coming out, but also established pros. In the 2010s, it was like new game come out and every pro, this was their first game. Well, now esports gaming is such a subculture that yeah, there are X tier 2 pros, X tier 1 pros that are looking for something new. I mean, right here, Cuffy and Knuten are both established in other games, right? This isn't their first competitive gaming experience. And so I think you'd be a fool to think that a game, a very similar game in the same genre wouldn't attract some of that talent. I think the best thing to look at is to look when Valorant came out, the Counter-Strike talent that transferred over. You had all of these long-time Counter-Strike tier 2s dominate the Valorant scene, you know, place. And I think we'll probably see something similar where players that either scrubbed out or didn't really make it to the top in China because the competition is just so strong will naturally be at the top. And then also the other conversation about Overwatch 2, they definitely have like a cool competitive scene. It's a shadow of what it once was. And with the announcements that MRI has come out with, Yeah, dude, if I'm good at hero shooters, I'm showing up. So with China being so strong in Overwatch, I think that we'll definitely see the region be strong. Is it going to be the same deal? Are there other players in other regions that change that equation? That's the big thing. But yeah, I think it'd be foolish to expect China to come in and be the weak region, so to speak.
Yeah, I think right now, unfortunately for Oceania, they might be the ones that are kind of at the lowest point in that totem pole of like rankings for regions out there. China, a lot of people are saying, might actually contend with Americas and EMEA, depending on like where placement is for that. But Asia is another region we got to talk about here too. They had some teams that qualified on their side of things, and for some reason, it's not going directly to it. There we go. They had Be Like XBE, Assemble Fire, Dopamine, and Alan TR. I don't know any of these rosters personally. Most of the teams in Asia and Oceania that were like kind of notable and had organization representation were able to make it through themselves. But one thing to note here too for these teams, and as we were talking about Overwatch as well, I mean, a lot of South Korean representation, right? And that's kind of where we've seen a lot of those hero shooter like phenoms come into the scene before, but there's still a decent representation of other regions as well. We have a lot of players from Thailand. We have some players from Vietnam and other regions there as well, which is nice to see that Asia has their own representation that ways. And I know the best team in Asia currently is Gen G from what we have witnessed. And I don't know about you, Cuffy or Knuten, either of you can speak on this. I mean, how does Gen G kind of fare against the rest of the competition, you feel?
I do definitely think that Gen G would be good enough to compete against some of the Western teams. Particularly, like, I wouldn't compare them to the likes of Virtus Pro just yet, but particularly I think that they could compete against the mid-range European and a lot of the North American teams right now, based on my understanding of the power levels currently. But
sorry, Spaceman's just raving in chat about Gen G saying kiss the ring. I mean, I think we have
affiliated with Gen G, by the way.
That's true. Gen G Spaceman. I think Gen G also has ex-Overwatch pros, if I'm not mistaken. Happy is on that team from what I saw as well. So there's like some really well-known names who came from that scene into Marvel Rivals, and seeing that as well kind of flourish for them. But I don't know about that F. So like talking about, you know, that transition of tier 2 or tier 1 pros from Overwatch to Marvel Rivals, I feel like since Overwatch has had a little bit more of a resurgence lately, that might have slowed the bleed of professional players over to Marvel Rivals.
Until they mention a nearly $2 million prize pool.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like that, I mean, that's really the biggest thing. And like, I mean, I'm a wide nerd. Don't call me fat, but I'm a wide nerd. And like, I've spent time playing like Magic cards and stuff. And the world of like card gamers, right? They play what's popping. You're grinding for Magic. You grind as a pro Magic player making $30,000 a year. If there's a Flesh and Blood tournament that's going to triple your income, you become a Flesh and Blood player now. Like that's what. Oh, Lorcana's throwing a giant tournament because it's Disney money. Bet I'm a Lorcana player now. And I think that that's going to be definitely something that we see with esports in general, but this game particularly as well, where it's just like Overwatch 2 has been seeing a great resurgence, like you said, but this is a giant prize pool. Let's get the boys together and rob this bank instead of that bank, right? Like at the end of the day, we're a heist squad. Let's do the heist wherever it is, bro. And so, yeah, I think that maybe we don't see every single Overwatch player come through, and you wouldn't have expected that, but a bunch of those people are going to be showing up as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense based on like prize pools. And I even tweeted about it recently because I found out from people who were streaming their matches for the qualifiers of Ignite, ESL Face It Group are the ones that are operating at least the qualifiers from what I saw. So potential for EWC in the future, potential for Face It League even for that. I know they have a lot of popularity with that in Overwatch, and I know people would be very excited for some sort of participation for that. I know a lot of orgs still waiting for an exact roadmap of esports to get involved in the game, but having something like Ignite is just massive implications for that. And if it does well enough, and I'm sure Marvel Rivals and NetEase have plans for years to come. I mean, I even talked to John Bailey, the voice of Jeff the Shark, and he said on my stream the other day that they have 10 years of content planned for this game, which is just insane to think about. So they have plans for years and years and years to come. Yeah, exactly. It's Marvel. They do things like decades out for their different like phases of things for movies, but it's cool to hear about that for a game as well. Moving along though into EMEA, and this is a region that you guys are a bit more familiar with. We had our 4 teams that qualify from here. Team 1, 0%, Alcacia, and Berber Patapim. And for those who haven't paid attention to the pro scene for a while, 0% has some players from X Fnatic during the Invitational. Team 1 has players from X Luminosity, and Berber Patapim has players from X OG. So a lot of orgs that were in Marvel Rivals Invitational no longer in stuff, somehow might have qualification spots. Still confusing because they haven't announced exactly who is in MRI, Marvel Rivals Ignite. It's not Marvel Rivals Invitational. Also confusing. Exactly in EU. But what we do know is that Zero Tenacity is involved in Ignite. They are directly invited into it. I want to know your opinions on how strong these teams that qualified are compared to the ones that are already qualified.
Yeah, so obviously, some of the biggest teams like Virtus Pro are already invited, which is, obviously a powerhouse, and I think they will remain a powerhouse until someone can tip the cow over, right? And I think when the cow is tipped, it's gonna, start the floodgates. But until then, 100% the teams who made it through are, I'd say, a little bit more shaky compared to the established teams that got invited.
Okay.
Looking through the qualifiers, it was very, very close for some of the teams where you expected it to be not so close. We looked at Broom Patapim losing to Blood's, what's their name? Almost losing to...
Oh, yeah, Blood Cariudo. Yeah, so they lost the game to them.
Yeah. So going 1-for-1, and then on the last map, winning the last fight, So it's very tight-netted in the competition for the qualifiers, where the established teams are just, again, getting that head start for being prepared. So I think, looking at it, the invited teams still hold an advantage, even though clearly some good teams made it through the qualifier so far.
Yeah, I mean, makes a lot of sense. Cuffy, would you kind of like agree with that from what you've seen in terms of like scrims and things from the other side of the pond where you're coaching in North America?
Yeah, so I've dabbled a bit in Europe as well. I was on past rosters with... I was actually on a very short-lived roster with Ken, Tanuki, Legacy all on one team. I think they're all very, very good players. And then on top of that, Fate from Team 1 or X Luminosity is a good friend of mine in real life. I think that the teams that did qualify were... I would have guessed that those 4 teams would have qualified.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. I mean, X Oblivion could have done something if they had a different bracket maybe, but they went against Team 1. And it's like, well, things might not go your way this time. I'm really curious on like which squads are going to be the ones to make it into a second split qualification for that. Probably the teams that we did see make it to this point. Some had some unlucky goes of it. I think Yoinkada or something like that. I can't pronounce it properly. They had a decent roster that had good performances in MRC and MRI, and they unfortunately faced off against Team 1, I think it was like twice, once in the actual qualification, then also in the bracket before they got to that point. So they'll have a chance once they're playing through that split 2 qualifiers themselves. But again, thankfully for the teams who didn't make it this time, they have that second chance. And speaking of a team that has to take that second chance, looking at the Americas bracket, Luminosity, they were not able to pull off the victory against Team Nemesis. They kept it close in that second map. The first one not as close, but as you can see as well, Arrival 7, there's another roster in NA that's looking for their own spots. And Chalkit, which is that team that Jobless Bums were able to take the victory against. They said themselves that they didn't have the best performance and kind of choked a little bit in their specific series. So decent teams here that had that potential, Cuffy, that again just maybe didn't show up on the day. But do you think the teams who made it already are like the ones that should have made it, or were there really upsets that happened?
I definitely think every team that qualified is good enough to qualify. I think North America is way more dogfighty than Europe, though. Like that whole top 8 in North America comes down to the bracket, in my opinion. Like, obviously, we've scrimmed against a whole bunch of these teams, and I think Citadel is one team that really stands out to me, just as a competitor. They're really good. Like, they're really good. But yeah, as for teams like Luminosity, I don't think they're quite as good as the top four that qualified, but they have a really solid foundation. That Brady March line is, again, crazy. I think it genuinely could be anyone's game in North America, and that's why it's so exciting.
It's going to be very interesting because we're going to talk about season 2.5 here. But F.5, I don't know if you've seen this in other scenes in the past, but basically they're playing on, I think, the 28th, and then they're doing like the top 32 quals and onwards on the next patch. So they're playing two different patches for these qualifiers, which is kind of insane. Do you think that's going to affect the mental for a lot of these teams?
Yes. Yeah. Like, yes. I mean, you got Cuffy right there. You asked the question. He like looked up and was like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is so the unasked question is, do I have a problem with it? And I think once upon a time I did. And since I have changed, I think that when it comes down to like esports, it's great if we kind of get like patches in convenient moments. But I also think that one of the fun things about sports is that it's a spread of skills. If you're playing Marvel Rivals, you have to know how to take space and how to click heads, right? You got to do both. And one of the disciplines when you're playing games games change, they patch. You have to adapt quickly. And what winds up happening is you have some teams that are better at the beginning of a patch because their coaching staff, their analysts figure things out faster than everybody else, and they wind up doing really well. And then later on, once it's more established, then teams that are execute heavy kind of take over. That's just another ebb and flow of the sport to me. So, like, are the mentals going to be? Yeah, of course. Yes. But I am kind of fine with that. I think that, like, you know, the caster in me is saying get good. The player in me is saying, like, that's part of the game. So it's wild to get a patch right there, but you know, you qualify on this one, you perform on that one. It's a debate. It's a question. I don't think it's cut and dry, but I think that it really shows dominance over Marvel Rivals, that you are a Marvel Rivals team and not a patch 2.0 team, which in some games, sometimes you see that where a team that's bad wins one patch cycle and then lose, you know, that's what they were good at. Are you good at patch 2.0, 2.5, or are you good at Marvel Rivals? And I think that's what we're looking for with these tournaments.
It makes a lot of sense that you kind of have to adapt on the fly regardless. I mean, there's going to be patches that are happening between stages and qualifications of each of these tournaments for Marvel Rivals Ignite. So it gets people prepared for that, but also makes it so like, hey, if you didn't want to have to deal with this, you should have qualified in the first place, right? So Jesse, if you are able to bring up my screen share, I'm showing the schedule for this specific split 2 qualifier, just so people are kind of aware. This is the America specific timeline for it. I can go over EMEA or any other ones that people want, but essentially on the 28th, which I believe is Wednesday, at 7 p.m. That's when, you know, you start with your 10 best of ones that you play, total random maps, single elimination into the top 32. Then there's a bit of a break. So after the 2 days that you can compete with that, the 28th and 29th, you don't have competition on the 30th, probably just in case anything breaks during the update. They want to give themselves that bit of a leeway. So for the single eliminations, instead of starting on the Friday like it did last time, it's going to be starting on the Saturday for top 32 into the top 8. So once Saturday is done, then we'll kind of know, okay, who are our teams? What are our matchups going to be for those qualifications? I know it says semifinals and finals. They didn't play those out for any of the other regions. I think that's just based on how their tournament system is set up in game. They can't get rid of that, so they had to play it out. Though they didn't play it out, but they just like had teams who didn't even get their qualification match win their specific qualifier, which is a funny thing. So they got like the faction trophy and all that. But yeah, so on Sunday is when we'll actually know the final teams that are qualifying. Still don't know exactly the split for NA, or not for NA, for Asia and China and OCE, because they said originally it was going to be 6 teams. We already have 4 teams qualified for each. So I'm assuming that maybe they are going to play the semifinals and finals out for those specific regions, but not for Americas and EMEA, which is also an interesting way to do things too, because they have this like some teams qualify like for both regions of Americas and EMEA. You have 4 for each qualifier. But for OCE, Asia, and China, you have 2 for this final qualifier and 4 for the last one. It's a little confusing, and it's also kind of sucks that they aren't streaming it. They're doing all of this stuff in custom games, so there's, unless you get the replay codes, no way to kind of like showcase that. I mean, From like a competitor perspective, would you prefer that this stuff was showcased and streamed for these very important qualification matches, or does it not really like matter to you guys if you were in this spot?
I think being streamed is, obviously a personal matter. Also in case of like what you're running and if it should be public or not. But like I think in general, streaming all of these qualification matches is good for the environment of the esports scene. We've gotten this amazing Ignite tournament, which people were worried about the esports scene after MRC, and then they slammed this on Twitter, $3 million tournament, and I mean, and then now all the orgs, they want to go in, and it's perfect. Like it's just the seasoning on the soup. Now we get the streams, that's the salt, and then we get the reactions, that's the pepper. Okay, and it'll just snowball itself into an amazing scene. So I think like honestly, no matter what, you want to get streams in all of the games. You want to get everything you can, pump it out there. Pump it out every single game. Pump it out. Get some casters in. Get some reactions. Get some people invested into the scene, and I think it's absolutely just perfect.
Yeah, that's
Can I
what
tell
like.
you how happy I am to hear a player?
Oh, so happy.
Like, Vodible has experienced this too, where it's just like so many players uninterested, and like part of me gets it, sure, but thank you. That is what we want to hear. As like, I mean, casters are just like super fans, right? Like we just want to watch stuff, and so many players are secretive, and I'm just like, please, sir, can we you realize it's better if everybody watches it, right? So thank you for being the type of player you are.
I've always, even in the MRI, me and my team, we took heavy in the fact that we appreciate everyone watching, because that was the biggest tournament at the time, and we wanted to show appreciation for the scene and people sitting by and watching, because without them there is no scene. Without no scene there is no competitive, like, and I can't play them, so like it's our bread and butter.
That part.
So important to have that as well. I mean, what's the Cuffy for you, like the NA mindset of that from different teams? Do they like just prefer not to have strats leaked or things of that sort for these matches, or are they like more receptive to having stuff streamed too?
Yeah, there definitely is a bit of a divide. We don't stream our scrims much. I know I wouldn't personally mind, but then I know amongst our team there would be a bit of discourse. But then you also look at teams like Sentinels, who are happy to share their streams constantly, all the time. Their scrims are very public, and they win tournaments. So it's like, just be good at the game, and sharing your information is not an issue.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, especially when it comes to like coverage. And eventually the strats aren't going to be that easy to hide, because you've played it against other teams, so they already know what you're going to do, and they know based on like who they play in ranked all the time, and see them training as well, and like who their actual heroes are going to be as well. One thing I do want to bring up too, because I've asked this during the last Rivals and Rants that we had, and I always like to ask you guys too, what are your thoughts on the difference in the pick ban phases of MRC and the qualifiers and the advanced tournament pick bans that they're using now, where it's like 4 bans, 2 saves, and you do it at the same time, but one side has an advantage because they have 2 bans in a row, and one side has a ban and a save in a row. Like, I'm going to just go back to you, Cuffy, on this one first, then we'll go down the line on opinions on this. I mean, this is the rant part of the show. Like, what do you think about these differences? Which is your favorite, and like, why do you think one's better than the other?
It's interesting because I like the current system. I like the current system a lot. Wait, when I say current system, I mean the new bans. Just to be clear, actually, I really, really like the new bans. It stops the mirror matchups. Like, there's a lot more interesting games. You can really see a coach's like craftsmanship, if that makes sense. Just double checking. Can you guys still see me and stuff?
Yes, I can still see you.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just focused on you for a second. It's all good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because the overlay kind of yeah. You can definitely see coaches like craftsmanship based on the new ban system. There's a bit of discourse whether both sides of the ban system are evenly weighted, because there's a bit of a weird like triple ban in a row, no protects, versus a team that gets to consistently protect and ban and stuff like that. But I really, really do like the new system, just based on the fact that I hate mirrors. I'm not a band guy. Like I'm not
You
the
see
brain
Coffee
behind
at
the
a
bands.
convention center, there's mirrors there. You got to make sure that they're hidden from him. That's all I'm saying. Man hates mirrors. Oh, man. I mean, F-Dot, I know you have some thoughts on this too while you're just like listening to the conversation for that as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, like it's tough to make a band system. That's like really, much love to the esports guys, dude. It's tough. That's what I gotta say. So I am fine with them. It's day zero. I'm fine with you switching around the systems as long as you're, looking at them, taking feedback, hearing what players like Cuffy are saying, right? Like, if this one's better than all the others, cool. We probably shouldn't. And I don't think. I'm putting it on, I'm guessing, but I don't think they want to change the way we ban characters every tournament. I think this is very clearly just the beginning of the day, like growing pains, so to speak. Yeah, exactly. So like, as long as they're just taking notes and figuring it out, because yeah, the game is a lot in common with Overwatch, but we're also like doing something new. So you got to try new stuff. So I'm not mad. 6 months from now, if we're still changing around the ban system, ask me the same question, and I'll see if I start screaming.
I'll make
but
sure.
Right now, I understand. So I think my opinion on this is like I think it's cool. I care more about like what Cuffy and Knuten think about it, right?
That's what I was
I'm just
gonna say.
Figure it out. Yeah, Knuten, what's up?
Yeah, well,
Exactly. Knuten, what are your thoughts?
Really, I think the advanced ban system is one of the best things that could have been added into this game, because now, first of all, the mirror matches are out, right? It's just wonderful. I mean, like I can live a happy life now till the end of my days, and like the competitive depth it adds, being able to purely lose or win with the veto. Like you have to think about what you do now, because they can destroy your front line, they can destroy your back line, and now instead of it only being purely the game, you can lose to a veto and you can win with the veto. So it's not just banning heroes anymore. Now you need to think about, okay, if they ban this, what do we do? Do we save Loki? They take Luna? Do we want to make that trade? And do we want to risk this and this? And I think it adds so much depth that you can just lose to a veto. I think that's a very essential thing for every esports scene. And it being added here, I think it's super, super important.
Do you guys feel, Knuten, do you feel, and Cuffy, feel free, are there too few characters for this to work? Do you ever feel like, oh no, I'm totally screwed out of a pit, like I can't play the game? Like, because it's pretty early to put it in an advanced ban system like that.
I don't think there's too few heroes. I think in any case, like you can always save heroes, right? So that's why you have the saves. And in any case, like the only reason you can lose to a veto is that you get outplayed. It's as simple as that. If you have nothing to play, you got outplayed. You got you got differentialed. You got owned. Like if you get diffed in a veto, you deserve to lose because you didn't think about what you've been doing. Like beforehand, it was like the 2 bans and was it 1 save if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, like way back when.
Yeah, right. And it's just like okay, so we don't want to plan. Knuden, he's handless off Hela. Okay, we ban Hela. All right, we call it a day. Here they can. We have the options. We can ban their Hela. They can contest our Hela. What the fuck? We have a free Hela game, and it just adds so much. And I think if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're like, wait, I have nothing to play, then that's on you, and not the ban system or the hero pool.
Cuffy?
Well, I respect that, especially when it comes to like how the ban system's going to evolve across Marvel Rivals Esports, right? Because they're going to be adding a new hero every month after season 3 starts, I think is what they said in the last dev vision that they had. So it's like that's eventually going to become so many different heroes out there that they're probably going to expand it even more so and make it different. I mean, I know Nightmare didn't specifically participate in the Shroud Gauntlet, but a lot of teams really like that like fearless draft style that they did, Cuffy, for that tournament. Do you think like if that is ever implemented, once we have such a large list of different heroes and you have to like lock in your heroes for each specific map, that might be implemented? And how would that like be handled by the different teams out there?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to the more tournaments, the better for viewership, the players as well. Like as long as the tier 1 scene has a consistent ban system, I don't really care if the other tournaments that pop up here and there have different ban systems. I think it makes it more interesting, keeping us on our toes a lot. Would I like the Shroud format in Tier 1 Rivals as a mainstream ban format? Probably not, but at the same time, it could be a lot worse. You know, I wouldn't complain, but I prefer what we have, the advance going into this. So
I like the idea of seeing the draft system like this, because one of the biggest things, like when you look at other hero shooters, the ban system, like you said, I also hate mirror matches. They are a snooze fest, and when the meta is bad and every game is the same team every time, the developers are great, but you're going to run into metas like that. So please, this is a way to prevent that. This is a stopgap. Even if you do get a meta where there is a correct pick, the bans will make sure that we have interesting games. But it also, like other hero shooters that we've seen in the past, don't. The bans are more of like quick. They're not as impactful as they are with the way this ban system is. And so it feels like I come from MOBAs. Watching a Dota ban system versus a Counter-Strike map ban, or a Dota draft versus a Overwatch ban system is like, there's so much more strategy going into the first one than the second one. And so here, this feels more like Cuffy's going to earn his paycheck. Like, this feels more
exactly
like the draft is a bigger part of the game than we see in other games in
Coaches
this
are
genre.
so important in this game.
And like, that makes me the like nerdy caster, that makes me excited to know the draft is going to be a larger part of the contest. I really like that a lot.
I'm actually curious for that, Knuten, as well. Like, how has being coached in Marvel Rivals been different from Counter-Strike, where you come from? I'm sure there's a lot of different things that they focus on, like with a main coach and assistant coach who might help with just the pick and bans, even specifically there.
I mean, like, yeah, it's been vastly different. Also, just coming into the scene in general, I think the biggest thing was me to realize that I didn't know anything. You know, and I think that was the biggest revelation, because when you realize you don't know anything, you can learn everything. You know. And like the way they do it here, it's a little weird in my opinion, right? But I come from a very old game, but I feel like with the new draft system, right? What coaches did in Counter-Strike, we call it anti-shredding, where we go and you look at the enemies, what do they play, what do they do? I think it adds the depth again to anti-shred the enemy teams. You know, actually go into like their games, look, hey, okay, wait, they do this. If they save this, you know, what do they want to play? You know, and now coaches has that option to do that and go in, you know, look with the players after scrims or whatever, you know, take 1 hour of theory, look at everything, and get the draft sorted, you know. And I don't think coaches do that now. I think coaches are there for the games afterwards, and you know they're really good at pointing out mistakes. But having that extra depth as like coach, I think is very important.
Oh, it's very important, especially for the stage of the game, and as the draft gets more and more complicated, as you guys are talking about, it could potentially spell the success or failure of your team just based on how a draft goes there as well. So it's such an interesting part of the esport. But that's enough talking about the drafting. Let's talk about season 2.5. We have the dev vision. It's going to be muted, but I'll fast forward back and forth of specific parts of this video that was posted just a number of days ago, 4 days ago. I was at MomoCon, so this is my first reaction to it as well. But again, they had the Hellfire Gala crashed by Ultron surprise attack. Ultron is the new strategist that is being introduced to the game. There's a new map that's coming out with it as well, and they had a lot of great interesting mechanics, you could say, with Ultron here specifically. So they have this drone that provides healing. They have different shields as well. They have like an infinite range beam that does have damage fall off. But I mean, you guys have probably gotten hands-on, Knuten and Cuffy, with Ultron themselves and seen how the reception's not been the greatest in terms of their power. I mean, do we think Ultron is going to be meta-defining for season 2.5?
I think absolutely not. You know, me and my support, you know, we were like going crazy. Oh my god, we can play Iron Man Ultron, you know, and we give Ultron E, and you give Iron Man the drone. It's gonna be absolutely bonkers, right? But then we go in and like he's just a baby with like 5 fingers, you know. He's inadequate in every way, in every single way, right? Like I could seriously play with 1 finger and play better on any other character and have more impact, right? And it's just so underwhelming.
Oh man,
like, he seriously needs a buff. It is underwhelming. Like his healing is just not there, and his damage, I don't even feel like it's there either, you know. And like both of those things were supposed to be, obviously he needs to be balanced, right? He's not supposed to be like a one-man omnipotent god, right? But you know, we kind of expected there to be damage and healing, like the automated healing, you know, being a little bit more consistent and like maybe more in like volume of healing, and then like the damage actually doing impact to the front line, helping the people push back. But like it's just underwhelming in every single way, I think, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, I'll have Jesse pull up the actual video that introduces it as well for like the actual abilities. This one's just like talking about it when they do in the dev vision there specifically. Thanks, Jesse. But yeah, so it kind of like shows the different abilities, shows that they're a strategist. I mean, I think it's interesting that Ultron's a strategist instead of maybe a duelist, but they're kind of like a hybrid hero there, right? Like kind of duelist strategist mix that you can see there too, based on the damage that they can do. But I think this is also like a Human Torch situation, right, Cuffy, where we saw Human Torch like not used at all, and then massive buffs happen, and then they were basically a must pick or ban.
Yeah, I can see why you're saying that. I do definitely agree with Knudsen. The character is really bad. The heals are really bad. It gets out DPS by the training bots. Like, boy, what can we do with this in a competitive setting? I think initially what I'm thinking is, well, Ultron needs a buff for sure. I don't know what they would do, and depending on the buff itself would kind of tell me where Ultron's place in the game would be. Because if the drones get healed, and let's say all of a sudden Ultron's able to heal flankers whilst being able to output, a decent amount of damage, it kind of gives me Alari vibes from Overwatch, where there's a hit scan character that was very good at countering flyers in particular, and had a pylon that could like help with a side lane, help a side fight. But other than that, I really can't see much use for Ultron, and even in the long term, I can't see Ultron ever being played with one singular other support. I think it would have to be triple.
What I'm wondering here too is I remember hearing before the like previews of Ultron, like people who play tested them like before they was even available for the content creators and people like that Ultron was going to be like busted and meta defining. Was this just people trolling, or was like it actually like different back then? I don't know if it was just they changed their kit so much that they nerfed things into the ground where people thought it was just too overpowered, or like what's going on with that, if you guys have any insight to that.
I don't have any insight to it, but I heard those rumors as well.
Yeah.
And I don't, they can't be speaking about anything other than like close range burst damage, but there are bad characters on the DPS role that do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Like, I don't know. He cool concept, I guess. Like hopefully we see him in the meta, but
probably not.
It's not likely.
I mean, F. You've been involved in like Smite and probably the dev side of that as well, and seen the different balance patches and nerfs and buffs and things of that sort. I mean, what is your mindset going into this? I know usually what I've seen, trash, yeah, but usually like people release characters that are busted from the get-go to get people interested in playing them. It seems the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, like generally developers will release a character sometimes too strong, and the cynical way of looking at it is like, well, get the people to buy the new guy and then nerf him, right? Like you got to be good, you got to play the new guy. Realistically, it's just like, imagine if you're cooking and you try a new ingredient and you put a little bit of cinnamon in and then you eat it and you're like, I can't even taste it. But if you put too much in, you're like, that's too much, but I like it or I don't. That's why we generally see devs like lead with a stronger version of a character. This is obviously not that. I think the bigger point though is the idea that hybrid healers are really tough to do. Cuffy mentioned maybe as the third healer, because the game this is not a complaint. I think this is a positive. I know this is a spicy take. The game is balanced around the ebb and flow. The balance of the game is designed around the giant circle defensive ults. I like that, actually. A lot of people don't. Anytime you introduce a strategist that doesn't have a Luna Snow ult, it's going to be questionable. So my biggest question was, how powerful is that heal beam? Is the heal beam ult? Can I just like blast my team and get the same amount? And it does. This is the shot. This is where he's valuable, and I don't think that is wide enough of an approach.
It's a super specific use case. Yeah.
And then the other like stretch use case that I had to make up while Cuffy was talking was like, I guess he can follow your flanker and like, but then you're losing your backline healer in the main fight. So when I look at Ultron, he is a hybrid DPS healer, which doesn't really work. He's a strategist without a defensive ultimate, which doesn't really work. And he's a healer that can follow around flanks, which doesn't
He can only
really
heal
work.
himself too when he has the drone near his allies. So he doesn't
That
even have
part.
like a self heal either, which is a big
Yeah.
nerf, I would say.
I feel like the character is largely a whiff. Like, it just doesn't really do what you need a Rivals character to do. I feel like there are some heroes that are just gonna, like, I don't know, man. He's gonna buffs. He might need like a Jeff style rework to really be applicable.
Oh man, we're gonna get
don't
into
like
Jeff
this
in a little bit.
I don't like this character at all. I want to like him. And last note, flavor-wise, Ultron makes sense as a strategist, but maybe not a healer. And I think that's a large conversation. I see all these like wonderful people on Reddit talking about like should stop making strategists that are healers. Just because I'm a strategist doesn't mean I'm a healer. You need 2 healers to play the game, dude. Like, you do. So if they make strategists that aren't healers, they don't get played. It's just that simple. So here, you got your strategist that isn't a direct healer, and he's never going to be picked because he's not applicable in a competitive setting. I don't know what to tell you. So he'll be really fun in your quick play matches, but I don't think that I don't expect to see him anywhere relevant.
Yeah, I mean, it's so frustrating to hear about that too, just because like I was hyped to see how they might have changed things here, but I feel like they changed a lot outside of Ultron to maybe make up for it in terms of like hero adjustments, team ups. So let's take a look at the dev vision again, just to talk about the different team ups that they're moonlighting for them and adding 6 new team ups here as well for that on the side of things. So they said they're adding all these new ones. I mean, we've seen all the clips on Twitter of them, but let me pause here as we kind of like take a look at it once Jesse swaps over to the different ones that are getting removed. So symbiote bond, we're no longer having that team up with Spider-Man, Venom, and Penny Parker. Ammo overload completely gone. It was initially removed from Bucky, but now it's also removed from Rocket and also Punisher there. Chilling charisma, no more DPS Jeff in that faction as well, with the extra damage buff you would get for that. And then also allied agents. No one really used Hawkeye and Black Widow, so I don't see why that was removed. But the new ones, Chilling Assaults, Symbiote Serum, Operation Microchip, and Jeff NATO, they actually have a typo on that. Shout out. It says Jeff Nano. But Chilling Assault, the Hawkeye ability, let me see if they have it here in this video or not. I know they posted it on Twitter at one point. No, they don't have it in this specific video for the. Oh no, they do. I think it's right here. If I'm not
They don't really
mistaken.
show it,
There we
though.
go. Yeah, so they kind of show it.
Oh,
but if you've seen all the viral clips on Twitter and TikTok, it can shoot through walls. It can shoot through the Magneto shield. It can shoot through the Strange shield. You can be across the map in your spawn. It can shoot through spawn. I mean, this team up for Luna Snow and Hawkeye, I think, is going to make Hawkeye so annoying to play against. What do you feel like about that, Canute?
I mean, I guess it's diabolical, man. It's like that one character from League of Legends where you do those like line-up skill shots. I don't play League of Legends, but you know the one where like you shoot across the map. First of all, it goes through walls. It freezes up to 6 enemies. 6 enemies.
6 enemies. That's crazy.
and then the more distance, the more damage. It is diabolical. It is just absolutely broken. This is going to be the meta of spam. I'm telling you right now, it's broken. Broken.
Is that
Beyond
an
broken.
18-second cooldown?
Yes.
You could do this twice a minute? Jesus.
And
20
like,
second.
oh my
20
God.
second.
And I think like the amount of damage it does with like the freeze effect, like and the freeze goes on longer, you know, the further away, right? Like imagine the lineups from spawn. Oh, you die as Hawkeye. Oh yeah, let me just shoot my arrow out of spawn to point. Let me just freeze 6 enemies. No problem, guys. Hey, let me just win the fight, and I'm like in Portugal. Like no problem. Let me just win another country. No problem. And it's just this is gonna be disgusting, and this is gonna be overpowered, right? And we were already talking about this when we saw this. We have to play Hawkeye. The spam into shields through walls, the amount of potential, it's like penny lineups on some sort, like some drug, you know, it's gonna
crack,
be diabolical. Yeah, it's on crack. It's gonna be diabolical. The amount of I think it's broken. I have nothing else to say. It's gonna be disgusting.
It's
and
broken.
I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna abuse the ever living shit out of this ability, and I'm gonna enjoy every single. I have gone against every dive character for your whole.
It's like
season now,
hopping
it's my
across
turn.
map now, basically.
Yeah, it's my turn. It's my turn to have fun. This season, it's been all about divers. Now it's my turn to strike. It's my turn to have fun, and this is gonna be diabolical.
Oh man,
Yeah,
hard
I
meta.
mean,
That's what the chat's saying too from Myrick as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm chilling over here because I know we're not playing this once. We are banning this out first every single match. There's no way I'm playing against this at all ever. So that is it's like it would be cool to watch on YouTube, but it's not gonna be in my games. I'll tell you that right now.
First ban Luna Snow, then you don't have to worry about it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like what the lineups are going to be. There's going to be some crazy like trick shots people will make with this, like cross map into people's spawn and they like hit someone randomly with it. I mean,
I'm so tired of the TikTok smokes in my crummy Counter-Strike games. I don't need some
my
kid
God.
standing there
Yeah,
for like, you're going to have some dude for like 20 seconds in the back like this. No, I'm getting my lineup. I'm doing it. And he's gonna stun one guy irrelevantly, and like you're just gonna be out because your homie's doing some TikTok Hawkeye lineup.
yeah.
Well, please play the game. Like that's exactly gonna happen. So
Oh man,
And like,
it's going to be rough.
To this, right? I don't know if anyone can confirm this because I actually don't know. But the further it goes on, the more damage it does. I don't know if there's a limiter to that, but like at some distance, if there's no limiter, it's going to be able to one-tap 250 characters. I mean, like.
It
Jesus
looks like
Lord.
there is like a limit,
Is
like
there
a
a
cap
limiter?
for it. Because I've seen people do like shots from spawn during the testing, and it doesn't like insta kill 250
Okay,
characters.
okay,
So I think
good-
it's
good
like a
gracious.
damage fall off sort of thing eventually, but still got to see
Yeah.
the testing for it. And people are
Yeah.
gonna have to experience this during MRI qualifiers this weekend. Let's go! Best of
gonna be
luck
awesome.
to those teams. Oh man, limit is 120. It's around half HP of a bot, according to Fate. Shout out Fate in the chat. Thanks again for the subscription there, by the way. But yeah, that's just it's insane. We could spend forever talking about this. We'll go back to it probably, of course. But there's also the Penny team up that also got introduced to the Rocket Network with Rocket Raccoon, where basically their BRB beacon is also one of these spider spawners, and it's kind of insane that you can have all these different ones that do an expansive network of just bombs, and Rocket's Battle Rebirth Beacon also does stuff as well. It's just crazy.
I have an opinion on this though. Like as a Rocket player myself, right? As a Rocket player, I'm trying to hide my beacon.
Yeah.
So
it makes it
Exactly.
easy to see it.
yeah, that's my main concern. It's just gonna like people are gonna see it, people are gonna scout it, and I don't know how. I mean, Penny is like kind of mid character anyway, but I don't really understand. You can't use that offensively because that's actually just a waste of a res. Like I don't think it's viable. It's not. This is worst team up in the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased, but
I agree. No, I
I
agree.
think what I've seen from a lot of people saying as well, this is going to just be like a skill check for a lot of people in like the metal ranks in competitive specifically. But anyone above that, they'll know like, hey, I probably shouldn't do this team up because, as you mentioned, it's very easy to spot where the beacon will be, and there is no way to define if you're going to throw out a regular beacon or not. As you can see in the bottom right, there is, it's kind of covered up by FDOT a little bit, but essentially you just press E again and it still does the exact thing. Thanks, Jesse. So you can see there that there's no like C button that you press to just put out this kind of a beacon. That is your one beacon. So it's kind of like fun. You can make it so that you just cover a massive area with it, but as you're mentioning, probably not going to be super meta. I mean, maybe we'll see like a troll pick with it just to get some like funny clip at some point. But I mean, from a player perspective, do you think this is going to be used much at all or not really?
Listen. Okay. First of all, like the beacon is always going to be highly contested when there's a raccoon. Because it's one of those things where you can get the advantage and then raccoon has rest. Okay, so we lost the advantage, right? But like the point of his beacon is to hide it. I don't understand. Even as I play in range, I could maybe see like for maybe melee characters, and which is by the way getting nerfed as well, right? This could be a problem. But like otherwise, you're trying to hide your beacon, and that web, it goes like in corridors and in doorways. I put it in a corner of the map. I can see it with the net. It exposes the beacon more than I think it does like prevent it from getting taken down, because you have distance on almost all characters to kill a beacon, right? I think it's so To be fair, I think it's useless. I mean, like, and the range it provides to Penny, I think maybe they could have made so the Penny, like the one nest, had more range with the team up instead of including his beacon in the team up. You know?
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to do it.
It would make it so much more sense because then Penny has more space to play with, and you don't risk one of the most important and very very long like cooldown abilities of your healer. I think it's a little questionable what they've done, but let's see. I mean, like maybe it's gonna be used. I don't see it. I wouldn't understand it being used, but you never know.
So speaking of like use cases, I think this is the only use case where we do see an Ultron is with this team up with Iron Man specifically, because it gives them an actual heal ability, right? So like they could actually heal their allies while also damaging opponents just with like a regular ability themselves, because they have this team up with Iron Man. But if you don't have the team up, then Ultron's kind of useless. As you can see, they're the team up anchor, so they get a little bit of extra health, and then you can deal damage while also healing. But the healing isn't very fast either, from what it looks like. So it's like, it's worse than the Jeff healing and damaging that you see now with the rework, which is just kind of weird that that beam just doesn't do as much.
Yeah, again, I feel like, me and my support player, shout out to my support players, I love you. Like, we were so hyped for this team, but we were thinking we were gonna go bonkers, double unibeam. Imagine the synergy in the air, how cool it looks, like fly around in unison, on like a fly date, and then this is what we get, and it's just like kind of whatever. And look, wait, was that the timer down there? Did it say
30
27?
seconds? 30 seconds. Yeah, it's the timer for it, which is insane.
You get gamma faster than you get the beam. Like, what are we doing here? Again, like, okay, so you just added one more finger to the 5-finger baby to this guy. So it's just, it doesn't make sense. It's just so, again, underwhelming, right? Can we get this man some some buffs, please? For the love of God, I'm calling out.
Now, my guess is, like, as we were talking about before, how there was rumors about Ultron being super busted. Maybe they had it do a lot more damage and a lot more healing. Maybe the cooldowns were a lot different, and then they got that feedback from people that were testing it before, and they're like, okay, we got to like change this, or else people are going to be really upset, and they overcorrected. And that's what I'm thinking might have happened here. I've thought.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't know. He's weak for. I think this character is weak from the ground up. Like, I think if you buff him to be viable, he's busted.
Yeah.
I don't like the design intent of the character. Realistically, I wanted to tag on the Penny before we completely move on.
Yeah, let's go back to the Penny.
I think the Rocket, yeah, you guys, I completely agree. Rocket, Beacon, I want that. But Penny gets 2 nests now in addition. Like, the Rocket part of it is kind of doo-doo, but Penny getting 2 nests. The thing that I have a question about is the little nanobots. Are you getting, like, are they doubling in?
It looks like you are
speed?
getting extra, yeah.
So, like, I mean, if you set up your, on all these maps where Penny's not the GOAT character, but she has her applications specifically around chokes. And if you set up 2 of these nests and because again, you expand your web range, you shoot the ground, etc. I mean, aren't you getting those cheeky Penny one-shots more often if they're spawning more nanobots more frequently? Like,
probably,
it's not a complete throw. I think the Rocket aspect is garbage, but I look at the 2 nests from Penny and it had me, there's a question mark. Like, I want to see it in some high-end play because I think that there's I think this character is weird, has a lot of potential, and doesn't really get a chance to play. And things like this make her more interesting. I think that the Rocket part is dismissible, but the 2 nests, I think, is definitely something that I want to see going forward.
I think the Penny is underrated, and I do definitely think that she has her uses. But then when I'm thinking about like the entire team state, having a Penny ult and a Rocket ult, and I'm a firm believer that Rocket's ult has actually gotten worse since the change. Like,
oh yeah, because it's less damage buffing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually disagree with you about the Trank ults where there's so many immortality ults. I want to move away from that. I liked the damage boost. There was a purpose. You could open up, like, you could engage with the Rocket ult. people were saying Rocket was bad in like into the triple support, the triple immortality. But how I break it down is with that old Rocket. When you had that at your disposal, you had 5 offensive ults. So 5, 3, that's a +2 trade-off. And let's say if the triple defensive comp, that was a 3-3, they would also have a +2 trade-off. So it's even. So just play your ults better and you'll win the game. And my MRC placement with Arius, where we came 5th/6, we were playing a lot of the Rocket. And I do think that I was able to teach my, like, what I learned from, like, Eternity ranked blah, 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 to a more organized environment when the discourse about Rocket was he's a bad character, if that makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, I understand that too. I mean, having different tools in your arsenal to use instead of just the standard heal area of effect makes it a bit more interesting in terms of composition and what your strategy is going to be for those specific team fights and initiating for stuff like that as well. Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a thing that kind of continues to evolve, right? As they introduce more strategies, as they have different takes on those ultimates, and if it's going to be more heal bubble or if it's going to be some damage boost. Like we kind of see that like hybrid damage boost with Storm with their specific AoE ability that they have that a lot of people are a fan of. So maybe more heroes kind of catered towards boosting damage. I'm really curious where they're going to take it. I know there's been like a lot of interesting takes in terms of like anti-heal. I really want to know like y'all's thoughts on that. Like, should that be a thing? Should it not be a thing? I know F. You're very passionate about this.
You know what anti-heal is? Damage.
Yeah.
Like, just because anti-heal is it's toothpaste. You can't put it back in the tube. Once you introduce an anti-heal character, you got to play them all the time. Otherwise they heal more than you. So it changes, it alters it. I don't think there should be anti-heal. It's like an unsustainable game state, I think. So a good way to anti-heal is kill him, dude. I think that really keeps it, in my opinion, I think it keeps the game healthy.
But what would you say about heal reduction though? Like if there was a character that reduced the amount of healing that other characters could take?
Yeah, like a classic Mortal Strike type stuff. Like that's, I mean, to me, like that's where I'm coming from with anti-heal. I think that like, again, if there's one character or 2 characters, you got 3 total heroes that have healing reduction or anti-heal, they become must pick because the game without anti-heal and the game with anti-heal winds up being completely like you have to pick the anti-heal then, and then you see a world of like dictated metas and teams looking very similar. So in my opinion, I think that anti-heal can be really, really detrimental to like the longevity, the long-term health of a game. And the other side is that like damage is really high for every hero in Rivals. Like every character has every character has a lot of damage, and so like I think that's the way to deal with healing is honestly just like, can you out DPS the HPS once you introduce a Mortal Strike, like a classic anti-heal or a healing reduction or something? It becomes a necessity, and I think the game warps around that ability. So once you introduce stuff like that, you have to tweak everything. You have to realize that when you make a healer or adjust a healer, you have to take into account anti-heal. They need to be able to perform their job when there's anti-heal on the field, and they can't be broken when there's not anti-heal in the field. So the design work gets really tough, and then the play work winds up being, you know, well, of course they have the anti-heal guy. Of course. You need Ant-Man. You can't play without Ant-Man because he anti-heals. So I think that winds up being a little unsustainable.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too, and it's just a slippery slope to just being more of a stale game state, and that's definitely not what the devs probably envision for something that could potentially exist for a decade in terms of what they're wanting viability.
I like that the power level is high, so keep it high. Let them shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of power level, I know this is the character that's had like changes been the most extraneous throughout all of Marvel Rivals. Black Widow, they still don't know exactly like where to fit them in terms of their like ultimates, in terms of their team ups. So we have the Punisher Operation Microchip team up for them with Black Widow, which kind of changes how their rifle works. It makes it so that they can like pierce through different bots while aiming down sights. So it's kind of like you can go for collaterals, get a bunch more damage that way. And it does fire a little bit faster from what I've heard there too. So, I mean, is this something that's going to be like, if you are a Black Widow main, you need a Punisher on your team to like play with? I mean, do you feel like this is going to make more people want to play Black Widow, or is it just another like cool team up that some people will use?
I feel like it's rare that, I could see potential that you can maybe have some lineups, if you have this team up. But I think the whole potential with Widow lays with the damage boost and the one-tap ability of a backline, right? And you're gonna one-tap with this. You can one-tap with this. So I think it's damage output that is like not necessarily bad, but it's just why have this when you can have a Mantis just damage boosting instead, and then making you one-tap the healers in the backline. The priority is so much higher for the damage boost than this team up would be ever.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense in terms of the team ups there. So there's been some fun team ups that they came up with for Jeff specifically. You got 2 new ones after having the other one go down. We have the Jeff NATO available. I've seen some really cool clips of it as well with the Omega Hurricane. It also extends the length of the Hurricane, but you cannot use it as well with the Supernova as we've seen there before. So I think Jeff can ult and then you can Hurricane onto it, but you can also have Jeff ult after you Hurricane 2 for it to work. Essentially, they swap any enemies that do not get taken down during the team up itself. I think this is something that's fun, but Cuffy, I don't think this is necessarily going to be like something that a lot of people are going to be using in top level competition.
Yeah, because how I typically break things down is you need to think about ult fights and just neutral fights. Well, the fights when ults aren't in play. You would have to change the characters around the Storm Jeff to make sure it accommodates for the Jeff part of the comp and the Storm part of the comp. And then on top of that, let's say Storm is really strong with like Invis second healer. You have to think about bans, and then you have to think about how Invis Jeff even feels in the future state of the game as 2 healers. Maybe you need another one. Then it comes down to solo DPS Storm isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's like it just lacks synergy, and I don't really like it. It looks strong, like it does actually look strong, but you never know.
A lot of just interesting use cases is what it sounds like for that specifically. I mean, after I know you're like love playing Storm yourself, so you have any specific thoughts on this one?
I mean, everything Cuffy said. I actually gonna use my time to ask a question here. Like, when we see the team ups like this, the other example, I guess, being the Storm in Human Torch one, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about ult economy, Cuffy, like, talk to me a little bit about how this changes your playbook. Like, the fact that you have to commit 2 ults to do one big moment, is that too large of an investment? Is that ever worth it? Like, I'd love to rack your brain about that.
Yeah. This comes down to a very, very fight specific thing, but the short answer is no. Two ults is completely fine. Like, okay. 2 ults to close up a fight is what we would typically expect, and with the ults like the Supernova and the Storm ult, they will close up a fight if you do it well. I've seen teams, even in like high level play, teams will ban out Luna, and then that would force teams to play the invis. And what happens with the invis is the ult stays still, which means that teams can't kite out of the ults, which means that it's a free team wipe every single time. And it's really, really tricky to play into stuff like that. Comboing ults is completely fine, should be encouraged. It's just about how many more ults you commit in that fight. Okay. And alternatively, how many more in relation to the enemy team's response.
Right. Yeah. That balance, and because that's what I was thinking when I first started seeing these like ultimate team ups. Because I mean, in the right situation, a Storm by herself isn't going to wipe all 6 players, but she might get 2 important ones, and then that opens it up. Whereas if you do the team up with Jeff, you kill all 6 players. But is there actually a difference in that moment? And so, like you said, it's fight specific. That's good info. Because that's
Also, don't
what
have to jump off the edge with this one too is a big thing.
That's huge. No more Donkey Kong. So that's always a good look. But yeah, I mean, I look at this and Storm ult is already like demands a response, and this demands a response and then goes a second step forward with the vortex in. So it's going to be sick. And that was my big question, was the one I just asked Cuffy, was like, if I'm investing 2 ults at the same time in this one moment, is that too much of an investment? Sounds like not. So, I mean, looks powerful. I've seen some of the clips. It's crazy.
It's very fun.
Like the fact that, you can eat the enemies and they can't be healed in the storm mode. That's the broken part, right? We all get that. So, and then it comes back to the thing. Is it worth investing? Is it a good trade? Like, because classic Wolverine out of the invis, right? Or a Mantis. Like, I think the same goes here, that you can combo Jeff and Storm, eat the Mantis, eat the invis, take them out the ult. They die. I mean, you can't counterplay it, right? But is it worth having a Jeff on the team when you could have a Luna or an Invis or a Mantis or any other defensive ult, right? So is it again like, the trade, check out the trade or whatever you want to say, is it worth that trade in the long run? Are we gonna win on neutral fights with a Jeff, on heal? And I don't think Jeff is necessarily bad anymore. It's just better picks, It's like choosing Cloak and Dagger over Luna. You wouldn't do that because Luna is in neutral better, and neutral is what you need most of the time.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, looking at the other Jeff team up that they came out with too, the Symbiote Shenanigans, love the name for it. But essentially, you have these little tentacles that you can use for healing, and it's like 20-second cooldown for it. I don't think the tendrils are really going to do too much in terms of like giving some extra heals. It looks like a decent amount though, and it gives overshield for Venom. It looks like there as well in terms of this specific team up. I just think it's kind of like, a funny thing that you can use, and maybe you'll do some like extra healing, but you have to be tethered to your teammates with it. So it's like, but I don't know the specific use case of this one. I don't think this is going to be like a meta thing. I don't think we're going to see like Storm, Venom, Jeff team up, like Jeff compositions or anything. It's just, it's neat.
Yeah, it's funny because if they added this team up before the rework of Jeff, when Jeff was actually a hard flanker, the synergy would be there for it. Like, the Jeff could flank with Venom pretty consistently.
That would be great.
Like a side or something like that. But now it just seems pretty mid.
Yeah. Not too much you can really hope about that specifically. Let's see what else there
I have
is.
something more with these team ups, right? Talk about the removed team ups real quick. I think it's completely fine that they removed every single one of the team ups that was removed, but ammo overload does it for me. That's the breaking point. I think that was the cornerstone of Punisher Raccoon. You melted tanks. That was his thing. And like, okay, symbiote bond, fair enough. Allied agents wasn't really used. Chilling charisma, because Jeff is not supposed to be a perma DPS. He's not made to DPS in the end of the day, right? But ammo overload, it hurts me in my soul. Because I love playing Punisher. I love playing ammo overload. I'm gonna miss this permanently. I think it's diabolical that they remove this. But then you take a look at the new anchor he gets, right? Which is the 5% damage boost. And then you look at he gets 40 bullets. And I know this is very minor, but that is 770, so like around there, damage per magazine. That is diabolical as well. So even though like I'm very sad that this team up is removed, I think Punisher might actually like be the new meta. Because that's without headshots, right? 700 damage per magazine. Imagine the damage up there. It's up there with a Hela with the 10 bullets, right? It might actually be a thing that's viable.
I'm trying to see if they tweeted out the video that showcases like the new speed buff that they have for Punisher using their ultimate as well, because that's going to be huge. And they didn't, it looks like, for you to actually be able to go around like corners and like have 30% instead of 40% speed fall off in terms of using that ultimate is going to be definitely interesting in terms of that kind of just survivability of Punisher and their ability to chase down people with their ult.
The damage increase, I think, is easier. Easier.
No, I was gonna say dive is gonna be a lot easier to ban out. That's what I was gonna say. I think Punisher's going to be good. I think Punisher will be very good.
100%. And like as
Yeah.
F wanted to say here, like the damage boost is something people think is so minor, but 700 damage. It takes him like 1 second to reload his rifle, dude. Imagine the constant damage output. It is crazy. What I can break a strange shield in one magazine almost, and then 1 second later, 1 second later, like I have 700 damage that can't be blocked, and they need to invest their healers into that. Okay, now they invest their resources into keeping their tanks up. Oh, we kill their DPS because they don't have heals for the DPS all of a sudden. I think it's gonna be really, really good.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
The thing that kept me like for he's Call of Duty man, right? He's just soldier. The thing that kept me from liking this character was that unlike Hela or whatever, that damage comes in bursts, and so you get those final hits. Whereas Punisher, you bring them down and they just get healed up, and you bring them down and they get healed up, and it's hard to confirm those kills because your DPS doesn't outdo the HPS that comes in. So 5% is minor and 10 bullets is minor, but like you said, like that might be the tipping point to where he's actually able to like, okay, they're hard focusing healing and I'm still killing them because I'm hitting headshots. Like that's what's interesting to me. This character is like on a knife's edge, and so I think that the 5% damage boost will make this character very interesting. And then, of course, like Strange Shields, Groot Walls. Yeah, GG, man.
It's going obliterated.
The 5% is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll go through the exact list of all of the changes for each of them. But before we do that, I want to go to Twitter real quick so that we can see the kind of Thor changes that they tweeted about. And then as the Jeff one specifically here, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the Thor changes, if it's like good, if it's bad, if it's like an overall buff because of yada, yada, yada. I'm curious on what your guys' thoughts are, Cuffy and Knudsen, on these specifically for it. But again, I don't think I can turn the quality up. No, 720p's the best on Twitter, unfortunately. But essentially, you can just combo a lot faster when you're trying to use that Awakening rune, and your Mjolnir throw also is faster, and it's not like tied to as much of a cooldown as it was before. So I mean, there's a little bit more you can do with Thor, but I believe he also got a bit of a nerf to the overall health he gets from it too. And yeah, he can do a little bit more damage, but I don't think this overall makes him that much better than he was before. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, like for sure, our Thor player was, rainbows and sunshines, like it was perfect for him. He's so happy about this because of this Awakened Rune. Thor's like best ability is Awakened Rune. It's an insane amount of damage, and having to like potentially being able to upkeep that almost permanently, it's a good tweak for the character. It puts pressure. You can't ignore this anymore. Just okay, you LOS it for the 5 seconds or whatever it is, and then he doesn't have it for a little bit, right? You don't need to worry. But now he can like indefinitely almost keep it up, and now you have to worry about it. Now it becomes a problem. Because you demolish a 270 HP character.
True.
No problem.
That's very true on that one. Yeah. So like, I think a lot of it's just going to come down to like people that were so used to the specific play style of Thor before might not be the biggest of fans, but those who like know the proficiency that it takes to play this hero know that it is a good thing overall for it. And the amount of damage you can just do with the Awakening Rune is just so incredibly crucial for this specific hero. But the DPS Jeff no longer being a thing is something a lot of people were talking about with the Jeff rework. So as you can see in the bottom here, they only get like 3 of those like spit bubbles or spit globs or whatever it is that he launches, adds opponents, and then only like 3 of the bubbles compared to what we saw before. So not as much like healing as you could do. The bubbles do displace people a little bit more, so that could be useful if you're like on an overtime objective and then you like do 3 of those back to back and then like push people off the objective. In that case, like that could be okay. But now that their like water spout thing does healing and damage, I think that's a good change to that specific ability. But overall, is this a huge nerf? I know a lot of people just like swearing off of Jeff and saying this is the worst thing ever that they've ever seen, but like I don't think it's too crazy. It just categorizes them as a strategist more than what we saw for the flanking DPS as we did before.
I think 100% people saying it's a nerf, I think they're wrong. I'm just going to be straight honest. I think it's a correction of the character.
Yeah.
Because
well said.
Listen, like, because in the end of the day, he is supposed to be a strategist. He still has DPS capabilities with it. I think adding the addition of the beam, or like his water doing damage, I think it's amazing for like the upkeep of his like significance in damage output, right? But playing against a Jeff that wasn't this now he's gonna be was the bane of every person's existence. It was so annoying. The minor inconvenience he causes to your backline, you need to carry him, but you can't kill him. It is like it makes like it's just the bane of my existence. It's
they also reduced the time that you could be underground as well, which makes it a lot easier to take care of them too. Yeah, and I think that was a very needed change.
Because like his survivability is diabolical. It is simply like insane, right? And then like the constant poking and annoyance he creates. I mean, like, dude, I'm actually gonna die before I kill this Jeff. Like he can sustain any 1v1. He can take everyone. He can take an ulting Iron Fist in a 1v1. Like it's diabolical.
So you can kind of see it here. It's a little blurry, but essentially now too, when you use the ultimate and you swallow up your teammates, you give them overshield. So that's really important that they added that as well. So it's not just like a net negative that you get swallowed by Jeff as a teammate. You actually get something for it and get healed a little bit.
But yeah, I want to let those speak as well. But in general, I think this is a great change for the entire meta. Because like, dude, I was not enjoying it. Like when I get a game against Jeff, I'm not gonna be enjoying the game. Seriously, I'm not going to have fun. It's not gonna be fun to play against Jeff, right?
That's true.
And I think it's a wonderful correction.
Yeah.
And I wanna give it over to you two as well. What do you think about it? Obviously.
Cuffy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like it's a weird one because I think if they get their numbers correct, like if they tweak the numbers correctly, obviously from these videos it's hard to tell how good it is. I actually don't think the character will be that bad. In some ways, like I've really been caught up on who can fulfill the role of like an offensive support ult now that Rocket isn't in play. I think Jeff's ult is quite good. And then on top of that, having heals in the neutral and then having an ult almost used similarly to how we would use a mag ult, to stop Star-Lords or to stop Hellas or to do stuff like that. If they invis boundary, for example, we can just eat it and we can split our team out. We can throw people off the map. And you're playing in much safer positions where you can be at the back of your team and still damage the tank.
True. Yeah, that's going to be really crucial for Jeff's positioning for that.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. Like I think that the change is perfect.
Yeah, hard agree. I wish they didn't truncate, like reduce the amount of bubbles you get. Like I like having the bubbles on the field. I think that is a very cool aspect of the character, but I'm looking for something to be upset about. I think Knut nailed it. This is a correction of the character. This is the way the character should be. I have a separate like soapbox tangent about like classifying characters. If there weren't these denotions of strategist and duelist and vanguard, this guy would have been fine as is, because you pick him as a duelist and you're annoying just like Psylocke or something, and then we can talk about the balance. But he's a strategist and he wasn't doing strategist stuff, and that throws off like the culture. Somebody picks it. Are they healing? Are they dealing? What's going on? And then in ranked, go screw yourself with trying to figure that out, right? Half the people aren't even on my, and so like that just made the game muddy. It was just like annoying to deal with him on your team, on their team, and just in general. The character as he was could be a character if he wasn't specifically labeled a strategist. He is. This is the game. And so this is a much better strategist overall. And like Huffy said, we got to see numbers, but
yeah, we'll look at the specifics for that too.
The ult. I like what he does. So this feels like a better strategist for what a strategist is supposed to be. You know, even if he doesn't have one of those big tranquility ults that I like to demand, this is a guy that makes an impact and his ult is reasonable. And like Knut said, you also, or it was Cuffy, where like you having a counter spell, right? Like a mag ult, a response ult is really, really valuable as we get deeper and deeper into the understanding of the game.
I want to bring up a point that chat is making right now too. Shout out to Myrick as well in the chat. So before you could not actually heal through all 5 of your teammates like this. Before you could only do it, it would get like cut off eventually. So that is a thing where you can actually heal your entire team and damage people in these like hallway fights on like Hydra base and those specific spots that we all know about. But even then, I mean, seeing how the way that Jeff is kind of being implemented a little bit different. I know the heal output in terms of like the bubbles is nerfed because they only have 3 of those compared to I think it was like what 5 or 6 that they had before. So seeing that, I know that's not as good. You don't have like the huge boost you get to speed for everyone when you come out of the spawn. When we see those tactics of people swapping into Jeff and then swapping into Rocket to get some of the armor packs and all that kind of stuff too. Like those strats are nerfed a little bit here, but instead I think it does make them a bit more catered towards that strategist backline heal and while also doing some chip damage here and there. It's also interesting too. I don't know if you could do this in the live because I haven't been playing Jeff that much, but I saw at the start of it that you can your beam basically doesn't get interrupted too much when you use a bubble. It immediately launches that out towards your teammate in the exact direction. So I think that's also a buff, if I'm not mistaken, for that specific use case of healing, doing the damage, shooting out a bubble at the same time instead of having like an interrupt with it. So like it's an interesting way that they've come to change things for this. But let's talk about the balance post that gets into the specific nitty gritty of all of the numbers for everything. And then that'll probably be where we round out things for the episode. Thank you guys for bearing with us. We're already at the hour 30 mark now. If you guys are cool with sticking around for at least a little bit more to go over the specifics, just want to check with our guests and see if we're good.
Oh yeah, I'm chilling. Big patch note, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in this episode, so appreciate y'all being here. Shout out to chat as well for being involved in this too. So bubble does take longer to recharge. That is true on that as well. So Ultron's secret OP. I mean, we don't agree on that, but Tensa, let us know why you think Ultron's secret OP in the chat, because we'll definitely talk about that. But yeah, so like talking about the specific adjustments in this balance post, Vanguard, Captain America has had the like biggest debut recently out of meta than we've ever seen in Marvel Rivals, and now we're getting some nerfs. So the health is being adjusted from 600 to 575. There's a delay of shield recovery from 2 seconds to 4 seconds after using their Living Legend ability, and the energy cost for their ultimate is increased from 2800 to 3100. Cuffy, is this enough of a nerf to Captain America, or is this not really going to do much?
I think it does got his survivability a bit, but right now there's not that sort of play style of a dive, but more of a like disrupty dive instead of looking
like
for,
displacer basically.
Yeah, exactly. Now obviously we commented on the Thor buffs, and Thor kind of fulfills a very similar role, other than the fact that Thor is better than the Captain America at brawling and actually outputting damage. It would be interesting. I do think that Cap would start to slowly drift out of hard meta, at least, though.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that too. I mean, do you have any like specific thoughts about how Captain America is like surfaced recently?
I mean, the whole thing with Captain America was that he could drive away resources to the front line by just existing, and that's, first of all, we have to sometimes accept that this can be a super annoying playstyle, but it's a valid playstyle. It's in the game for a reason, right? It's a thing you can do, and it wins games. So like him taking a hit to his survivability and his like the shield recovery and the ult charge as well, like for survivability, makes him less impactful in driving away resources and forces him out faster, which is like his whole gist. It's not to kill, it's simply to take resources from the front line, which he does worse now. And I think it's absolutely perfect. I think it's perfect. I think giving him a little bit, because he's still viable. I think he'll still be viable, but I think other stuff is better. It's always picking and choosing what you think is best, and I think other things will thrive over having a Captain America trying to pull away resources in backline.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And looking at the changes to Stephen Strange, the tank that we've seen that was meta for like such a long time, we haven't seen it as much more recently, but now having a slight damage boost to their standard abilities, also with their like daggers that they use starting from 10 meters reducing to 62.5% at 20 meters, and from the, I think it's reducing to 80% at 20 meters. So like less damage fall off essentially is what we're seeing. Better capabilities at range for that as well, and removes the range damage fall off of Maelstrom of Madness. I mean, what are we thinking about this in terms of making Strange more meta for like that Vanguard pick? Because Strange used to just shred people from what I saw in a lot of the like NA, MRI and MRC events out there.
Yeah, there are certain teams, especially in NA that we've been scrimming, that haven't dropped the Strange at all.
Yeah, they're probably happy about this.
yeah, exactly. I think Strange is viable. There are a bunch of characters in this game where people just think that they're bad, but they're not. And this is only going to be helpful. Like Strange touching upon A tier, I would say.
Yeah, I could see that too, especially without having a damage fall off from their Maelstrom of Madness. For those who aren't familiar, that's like the dark magic like burst that you do, and that's really good to use for like comboing against people.
That's the big thing. What'd you say, Knudden?
It is all specifically like this really plays a big role. If you know, I'll give it to you because I think you were already on it. You can continue it.
Yeah, like that's the big thing. Thumbs up, his shotgun goes further. I don't care, dude. But the Maelstrom of Madness is a 70% fall off at 8 meters. 8 meters, bro. Now 100% damage the entire range. So when you go in and I have Yagamoto and you get everybody, and then now you're really hitting people that aren't next to you. Before, you were hitting them for a little bit, but especially after the damage nerf, the fall off on top of that, you're just not getting, you're getting the healer that you ulted next to. You're not killing the Scarlet Witch that's a little while away from you. Now you are. Like I think that's a large change. Is that what you're going for, Knudden?
I mean, like, yeah, just like the fact that, you know, with this ult now, you have to pick and choose. And with this removal of the range, you know, it just obliterates everything. And also, someone in chat also writing, you know, I remember playing Storm when Storm was good, and a Strange gathers his Maelstrom. He just did like a and he just like explodes me, and I'm just there, you know? and I think it's gonna be, you know, with the increase of flyers, I think it's perfectly fine because it punishes flyers for playing too aggressively. Because the Strange can't fly into you if you play in the middle, right, or even further back. But when you overextend, you get punished by Doctor Strange now. So I think like the removal of the range. First of all, you obliterate people in your ult again, which is how I feel like it's how it should be. You get punished by ult, you should die in that ult because, you know, you get punished. You're out of position when you get hit by that. And then the fact that he can just absolutely obliterate flyers, I think is just it's so perfect. It's a good removal, I think. Even having the damage fall off to begin with, I think it was kind of diabolical. But you know. Agreed.
Yeah, like I love this change. I also love Strange, and like Cuffy was saying, I think this guy has been fine. Like, you know, Twitter's like, oh, don't play him. You know, you're wrong. He's the biggest meat shield in the game, and sometimes that's what you need. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see more Doctor Strange, especially as you were mentioning, Cuffy. There's been a lot of teams that still rock him in their comps. I mean, just using the portal in general is just such a clutch move, especially when you're like down on a point and you're trying to get back in time. And then some people use it to just delay people off spawn enough if they're on the defensive end in an overtime, just so that it wastes a couple seconds if they do like the double door block with it. There's like so many use cases for Doctor Strange, and it's such a fun and unique character that's out there. Looking at the support stuff though, I saw, you know, clips, I don't know if it's Necros or Boger that put it out there, of like you can 2-tap now with Emma Frost supposedly, with just headshots. So you increase the range of their pulse, decrease the shield value of Mind's Aegis, or not Mind's Aegis, sorry, I was looking at the Emma Snow, not Emma Snow, Luna Snow. I keep mixing the names Emma Frost and
Luna
Snow.
I do too, man. They're both, why are these both so cold?
Emma Frost, though, increase the range of their pulse, decrease the shield value of their like deployable shield, which I think is an important thing to do, because you could just put that up in an area and then just like shoot through it the entire time and just have nothing to really worry about. The cooldown of their Carbon Crush from 5 seconds to 6 seconds, I think that's okay. I don't think it's going to change too much. Maybe just like the combo potential. And then the hit damage of the kick from 50 to 40, and the extra damage dealt when propelling enemies into the wall from 100 to 90. So you can't like combo it as well from what we saw. Increase the kick CD and kept the damage the same. Yeah, I think that would have been a better way to do that too. But yeah, you can't get two of the choke holds in diamond form anymore due to this change. And I think that's a needed nerf, especially because of the different like combos we saw out there.
I agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. Just to add on to this, I mean, like, the amount of times I've been grabbed and just absolutely obliterated through support ults, I mean, like, it's just not fun, you know. And
Yeah.
and I think everything about this change is good, except the. And feel free to disagree here, right? You can disagree all you want. I don't think they should have given her more range. I think her range is completely fine.
Yes!
The
No,
range
she
is
doesn't
an
need more
unnecessary
range.
buff. She does not need more range, because like you can fly up as a flyer, right? You know, and she can hit you. And with the 18, like, it doesn't seem like much, but this genuinely makes her so much more viable. And I feel like that buff is unnecessary with the range. I think everything else is completely fine, but the range is so unnecessary.
It feels like, you know, I'm gonna be annoying and like wear my, you know, developer hat real quick. Sometimes you give a character 3 nerfs and then reread your patch notes and go, ooh, they're gonna be bad. We better give her a buff too. And like that's what this smells like. That they corrected her by adjusting everything a little bit and then went, we need a buff. We can't give her more damage. We adjusted everything. Maybe give her some more range. Like, it seems so arbitrary. I don't know anybody that was complaining about lack of range out of her. And yeah, it's not my biggest complaint of the patch, but I 1,000,000% agree with you, Knuten. Like, why? So
Yeah, well,
I think they just felt bad. Man, we nerfed her too much. Better do something nice. Like,
Yeah, people are big fans of Emma Frost, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, we've seen her be like another meta pick out there since she was introduced in like the must picker bans, depending on what your composition that you're going for was with that. So, and speaking of like a character that's been meta for such a long time and is always banned, Groot, we get to see some decrease to the damages for their left click for the Vine Spike from 70 to 65, and then also the cooldown for the wall. The wall also got nerfed initially partway through the season for the amount of HP it had. Now it goes from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. Is this still not enough of a nerf, Coffee, or is this the perfect amount, you would think?
I'm really hoping it's enough. I'm really hoping it's enough because I think about because obviously I've been playing the alpha, the beta, and then on top of like early release Groot's power level actually does go up and down. So conceptually, he's a very strong character, but we do know that if he's nerfed enough, he just won't get played at all. And I'm hoping. Same with Emma Frost. Like, I cannot stand these 2 tanks. I really cannot stand these 2 tanks. So yeah, Groot. Honestly, there's nothing insightful that I have to say other than like fingers crossed, guys. We're almost out. We're almost out.
I mean, with the Punisher buff, that will reverberate onto Groot if Punisher becomes more meta, right? Like,
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, it's nothing like super significant, but just like the 4-second increase in the cooldown makes him less suppressive, you know, and then the punishment chance you have goes down, you know, and that's like one of Groot's biggest things is that he punishes the overextender, walls them off, and they insta-die, you know, and with the 4 seconds there, it gives you more time to take space without getting punished. And I think, you know, that's the 5%, the 5 damage is obviously, you know, it's a thing, but I think the 4-second increase, I think, is a big thing with this nerf.
That's also his source of extra health as well. So technically, you're affecting his tankiness, his EH as well. So that's a good way to knock him down. Vine Strike though, I play flyers. Yeah, I'm out of position if Groot's hitting me, but like, why does he 4-shot me? That makes me a little mad. So keep going with the Vine Strike.
That's probably why they reduced that a little bit. Yeah, just because of the Flyers complaining about it. But also, Myrick again makes like a good point in the chat there too, that once you recall it, it's instead of a 4-second cooldown, it's a 6-second cooldown for the Iron Wall, which is, I think, a much needed nerf there as well. Moving on to Magneto though, charging speed of the rings from 4 seconds per stack to 3 seconds per stack, just so you can kind of like deal more output and also like use your push ability a little bit better with that as well. I think this is an okay buff, on that side for extra damage, but I don't know like how much that's going to really affect things too much. I've seen some really good Magneto players that I'm sure are really happy about this. But in terms of like the overall scope of Magneto as a character, I mean, how are we feeling about this one?
I mean, Magneto,
I think it was a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree. I
think he's in a good spot right now before this.
You know, I think the big thing with Meg was, you know, his ult. I think his ult is very impactful in a lot of situations, right? And people have been like, And again, feel free to disagree with me here. People have been complaining that Magneto's been weak. I don't think Magneto's been weak at all, ever. I think that the meta,
one-shot combos,
yeah, I think the meta has just been where Magneto doesn't shine. Like an Emma Frost and a Groot over a Mag makes sense any day. I think never ever has Mag been weak. But like with this little buff here, it just increases his lethalness, and maybe that's what the push he needs to. Maybe sometimes choose the Groot over the Mag and the Mag over the Groot. Maybe it pushes him forward a little bit more.
I think
maybe helps with those flyers a bit more too.
Yeah. One quick comment about this. I think the casual perception of Magneto is skewed because he is such a different character when you're landing every single basic attack versus when you're whiffing them. Like I'm not even being funny. Like I legitimately think that these like kids on Reddit and Twitter think that he's less effective because they're just not landing their shots. But you destroy these healers in the back. So I agree. Kind of I don't know why it's here. Sure, more one shots. Let's go, baby. But seems weird. He's fine.
Yeah,
he's good.
3 seconds is going to be like a big difference too. Now I think about it. If it was like a 0.5, then maybe it wouldn't be as noticeable. But since it is like a whole second difference, and then you of course are going to be able to deal that much more damage appropriately with it. Thor, we kind of talked a little bit about the specifics for this, but this just has like the actual numbers behind it for those adjustments. So the hammer throw ability effect is now a standard ability instead. So it doesn't have a cost of Thor force. And I think that's a good thing too. Makes it so you can combo it a little bit more. The cooldown is longer from what I'm understanding due to that though. So some people were a little bit upset about that specifically. They gain 1 Thor force though for each hammer throw for each enemy hits, and decreases the throw damage from 70 to 45. That's another thing people were kind of upset about, but when I've seen other Thors, they usually haven't used it much. They've just been focusing on the awakening rune so much. Return damage is also reduced from 30 to 20 with it as well. This is the main thing that people were upset about for the Thor. That's a bit of a nerf. So you don't get as much for as much shield for consuming Thor force. So you used to have a bonus health from each of them that was consumed for be 100, which was nice. Now it's 75, and the maximum bonus health is from 200 to 150 on that. I mean, Knut, you said you had a teammate of yours that really likes Thor specifically and was talking about the different changes that they liked. But is this something that's going to affect them too much in terms of survivability?
Not really. You can imagine it like you're missing a raccoon, health pack. And that trade-off for the amount of damage output he now does, I think it's wonderful. Yeah, I'll take that trade-off any day.
I get that for sure.
Cuffy, does this increase Thor's survivability? Like numbers-wise, does he have more? Does he stay alive better or worse with this change? Because he's healing less, but more often.
Yeah, definitely. I think he fits into, again, that same sort of category where the reason why characters like, I'm going to say Strange or like Thor or even Black Widow, the reason why these characters really get their buffs per se is because the people that play these characters don't actually believe that their characters are weak. No one's kicking up a fuss about... Even the biggest thing is a Black Widow player. I've never heard a Black Widow player say that their character is weak.
I definitely get that.
So I definitely think it will be more viable, and I think it's something that will be very noticeable in ranked. Now, organized play... I don't know about organized play, but I think it's possible, but you will feel it in ranked.
I think it's always fun to pull out a Thor, especially against a team that just doesn't know what to do when you're just in their face and just hitting them with Awakening Rune, like lightning bolt, and they just don't know what they're dealing with. It's always a fun thing for me. Speaking of like talking about just tearing up ranked, but also probably a little bit of competitive, as you were talking about before, Cuffy, Hawkeye, not just getting the frozen arrow, they're getting an increase to their arrow damage by 2. They're getting increased projectile damage from their blast arrow by 1, and the spell field damage by 2. Their maximum focusing is increased by 5. They're increasing the charging speed while aiming at an enemy from 100 per second to 108 per second, and the charge fall off speed is getting increased from 30 per second to 32 per second. Hawkeye continues to get buffs every single patch almost, and I feel like Ranked is just gonna suffer because of this.
100%.
Yeah, I think game quality is really, really rough when Hawkeye is in play. And again, nobody says Hawkeye is bad. Dive was oppressive. They nerfed Dive, so why don't they just keep Hawkeye the same? You know, if they're like Hawkeye is more viable if Dive is out of play, but they're doing both. And now Hawkeye is just gonna be like Thanos. You know what I mean? Like.
There's some insane clips that I saw too of like Shroud getting like frozen and then immediately sniped afterwards because of how quickly they can like shoot them with the combo there. It's just like
I agree, 100%. I feel like the base damage arrow is an unneeded buff because I feel like in general like Hawkeye's damage output is still like massive. You know, you can better like root it in like 3 hits or something. Like it's unbelievable. I just want to like note with the projectile arrow, right? The blast arrow. That means you can now one tap a person in your ult with your blast arrows. By the way. Alright, just think about that, because like no one really uses blast arrows, right? But now it might actually be viable in ult because you can one tap people with it. And then like the focus, the 5% focus increase, or the 5 focus increase, it's just a minor, you know, increase in the damage of an uncharged shot, you know. But I don't understand why they need to buff him more. I feel like it was just fine. I mean, like, and with the arrow now he's getting and the blast arrow buff, I mean, like, bro, this is gonna be like season 0 bans all over. Hella Hawkeye every game. I mean, like.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Hella, we see the Night Sword Thorn increase their charge capacity from 8 to 10, so they can sustain like shooting a bit more without having to reload and all. That is insane.
I am so happy. Like, this seems so insignificant, but the amount of times I've been 1 or 2 shots away from killing someone, right? It's been tremendous. I'm gonna be survivor now. I love it. And everyone's gonna ban it, but I love it. And we're gonna save it for that. This is perfect for me, you know.
I'm sure Delena is really happy.
Hella gets it done. She still gets it done. This is goated. And same thing. Me and Knuten are very different players. I am not that good, but still same thing where I'm just like 1 or 2 more, like 1 more shot and he's dead. Freaking reload, like every time. I think the 2 ammo change will be a big thing.
That's gonna be pretty effective there as well.
She's just an evergreen character. Like, in what meta is like dive is going to be rough for Hella, right? But you can always just click heads. This is an evergreen character. She's really hard to make unviable. So,
and like with the new nerfs to like dive characters in general, you know, some heroes will be suppressed when other heroes gets buffed, and the same thing is happening here where Hella opens up for more, first of all, more damage output, more survivability, because the dive is getting nerfed. I mean, like, one of the biggest threats to a Hela is a Psylocke that one-taps you, because you're 250 HP now, right? You used to be 275, like, all the way back. And that was, like, the main issue, right? Because you were killable. But now that Psylocke is getting nerfed, and like, in general, like, the dive heroes are getting nerfed, it enables Hela so much more. So it's like an indirect buff as well, right? That other heroes are getting nerfed.
That was the big point that Cuffy made that I wanted to tag, that like these games, like when you come into an ensemble game, like a game with a bunch of heroes and it like changes to one is going to hit the other. Why are we buffing? I'm still yelling about Hawkeye, but like, why are we buffing Hawkeye when he gets buffed simply by nature of the meta state, right?
I agree.
Hella gets an adjustment. Whether she needed it or not, it's still welcome. But yeah, no, that is a big point when we look at these patch notes, is knowing that like this nerf will buff this without touching it. So yeah, Hella gets buffed by nerfing dive for sure.
So this is what I want to know too, for Human Torch specifically, looking at these changes here. That's like been the talk of the town for current season 2 meta on banning or saving them, depending on what your composition is looking like for that. So reducing the damage of their fire cluster from 7 per hit to 6 per hit, increasing the charge speed of Blazing Blast from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, and decreasing the shield value gained from Flaming Meteor from 75 to 50. Speaking of that dive there specifically, and increasing the cooldown from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. So they can't dive as often, can't survive as well when they do the dive. Excuse me on that. Their little AoE ability that they try to put out takes a little bit longer to use, and they're doing a little bit less damage here. Is this enough of a nerf, Cuffy? Do you think this is going to change things too much for Human Torch, or are they just like no longer viable because of this?
I think this is a step in the right direction. Obviously, haven't seen it play out, But this is interesting because it will impact organized play. It might be enough for people not to ban out the torch, but it might not be enough for people to completely stop playing it. Now, I do think that teams will still run the torch because conceptually, just a better Moon Knight, anti-bunker, anti-slapping, all of that. So yeah, I do definitely think that this is good. It looks good. I think he's still gonna be fine, and I think he's gonna be way less oppressive. So yeah.
Yeah, because
We
the
saw a
biggest
lot
change
of,
is
Sorry, the biggest change that
You're good.
Newton's going to notice is that you can kill him now.
he can die. Yes. And that's I wanted to point this out so badly because the problem with this guy, right? He's suppressive. That's his whole thing. He takes space from you. That's his thing. But then the survivability comes in. I can headshot this man 700 times, and he's fucking. I'm sorry for the language, but he survives. He survives, and oh my god, it gets my blood boiling every single time.
He just dashes. He dives to safety, and you're like, stop it!
Yeah, and then he flies up again. He's like, and then the whole point is on fire, and everyone's dead. Okay, and like with Hawkeye and Hela getting the green light, Human Torch getting a slight nerf to like his, the output of suppressibility. I think it's gonna be where I'd still ban Human Torch personally, but you can play against Human Torch now. It's playable to play against.
It's not like the worst experience as someone who's like stuck on the ground and all that. And because you have that extra ammo for Hela, you can shoot more at them and get those finishes as well. And then Hawkeye having that extra damage can target them too and even freeze them out of the sky, which would be so funny.
But again, with that being said,
if all they did was change the cooldown from 15 to 20, I would still be happy. Like, that's the meat of this nerf to me. I think that's really what he needed.
I agree, and I still think Human Torch is viable. I think he could potentially still be strong into some team compositions. Get an invisible on this man, and he's going to be fine still, right? So I'd personally still ban him out. I think in general, his kit, in its totality, it's still dangerous to play against.
I mean, this is a game about taking space and owning area, and he is a character built around area denial. Yeah, he's gonna be strong. Like,
yeah, 100%.
So Iron Fist, we saw a lot of resurgence of Iron Fist recently after the interesting buffs that we saw from last season into this one. Looking at the differences here, though, so lowers the dragon's defense damage blocked to bonus health conversion rate, so nerfs their survivability a little bit there, and the maximum bonus health converted from damage blocked from 200 to 175, and the dash distance of their I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, in the Z-axis direction when there is no target, so they aren't able to move around the map as effectively as they were before, and just go towards the flyers without having anyone directly at them. And also reduces the cooldown reduction from the hits from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. So I think this is a needed nerf, and we'll see how effective it will be. I mean, what do you guys think about this one?
It was definitely needed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the fact that this man, he could fly around point. Dude, okay, no, it doesn't make sense, man. And he can follow flyers around. It doesn't make sense. I could be an Iron Man, shitting my pants, swerving around, and this guy's just holding down left click and just laying down in his chair, and he follows me, right? But a small hit in survivability, and his movement getting nerfed a little bit, I think is perfect to what made him annoying, and I'd even say a little broken. I think they've done a good job at balancing him out where he's still viable, but where he's not unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good nerf there. Speaking of Iron Man specifically, it says they're
real quick. I thought his name, very relevant point. I thought his name was Danny Rant. Who the hell is Lin Lee?
That's the other Iron Fist.
Yeah.
That's the Iron Fist from, I think, what is it? This Iron Fist is the newer age Iron Fist, essentially.
Yeah, there's a voice line in the game about this. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, Moon Knight says, "You're not him, kid," because the reference to him, and then oh, brother, I am the Iron Fist, and you're Moon Knight.
Okay.
Spaceman calling you out, saying rip the comic book.
Yeah, I'm the MCU baby. Okay, I have a Punisher comic book, but that's it. I'm the MCU baby. So I know blonde hair Danny Rand. So I don't know. This was absolutely not relevant, but I was very confused.
It's important. That was important. I think that was important, and I'm with you. I mean, I've seen we're playing a Marvel game. I've seen Endgames, and I've seen Infinity War. I have not anything else. So I'm like,
I started playing in like December, and I got sick in February and watched every single Marvel movie and show back to back because I was really sick. So now I'm in, but just in there. So I was like, I thought I knew this stuff. Who's Lee and Lee? That's my computer case company. What's happening? Like, so.
Oh man,
All right.
Spaceman's having an aneurysm in the chat.
you mean nothing else? Oh shit.
Let's go. My guy
He wants
Iron
you to be
Man.
introduced to more stuff. Yes, Iron Man. So projectile damage of the third repulsor blast is reduced from 50 to 45 and decreases the spell field damage from 60 to 55. So a bit of a nerf there, and reduces the armor overdrive maximum bonus health from 100 to 50. Yikes. I mean, I know you're excited to talk about Iron Man here, F-Dot, but this is definitely a nerf and a pretty decent survivability and like damage output one there as well.
Damage output is an annoying fix. Like, Iron Man can be played in a couple of different ways, but you sit there, you find some like weird Rainbow Six bullet hole to shoot through, and then just pepper the front line so they're taking incidental AoE damage, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's annoying. It is less effective now. You can still do it. Cool change. Like, I'm not that hater. Armor overdrive max health going from 150. That's going to be noticeable. You're going to feel that. It's not going to nuke the character. It's not going to but it'll be a change. Sometimes you use that to like heal yourself up. But you take some damn, you run away. But Iron Man players hit this on cooldown, whether you need that health or not. Every 16 seconds you get your stim button. So you'll feel it because there are those moments where you're like, oh, I'm so happy I have my extra health here. But the character, the play cycle doesn't really keep that in mind. So
I agree. Like, play him correctly, and like, okay, the damage is obviously a decrease, but like, play him correctly, and I don't think you're going to be feeling it as much. And people are like removing him from the gamma. It's like, oh no, he's unplayable. But no, like, the beam is strong without the gamma. I think people have been conditioned from season 0 to think that gamma without the beam without Hulk doesn't make sense. But it's still Omega strong. It melts anything in its path. And play correctly, I think you're not gonna.
Sorry.
Yeah, like, play correctly, and I don't feel like you're gonna notice a difference that much.
Beam does 180 damage a second, plus you're shooting your missiles at the same time. That healer is getting deleted unless they have a button, with or without. Gamma moves it from 180 DPS to 220 DPS. So Gamma made it busted, but 180 damage a second is still pretty damn good. So totally playable. Propaganda from people telling you that Iron Man can't be played without Gamma. Totally viable, totally playable. All the benefits of being a flyer. So projectile change damage, fine. Thumbs up. I don't care. You'll feel the overdrive, but the character doesn't shift, I think, with this at all.
I agree.
Okay, name more. I saw some people in chat, having their own opinions about this. So their Blessing of the Deep has a longer cooldown now, and that's kind of what keeps them alive, allows your healer to target them to get them back to full health sort of deal. And from 15 seconds to 20 seconds, I think that's a decent nerf on that one. I do like that they're expanding the range of the Horn of Proteus, having the inner circle have the max damage and then outer circle not do as much too is, I think, a good change for that. But also, the monster spawns are getting stronger is insane. He does not need the monster spawns to get stronger, in my opinion, at all.
Yeah, I don't understand where this is coming from. I can't lie. We actually did the math on this, me and my team, just like with the increase of the alt, right? This. You see the 200 to 180 like nerf of damage, and you think like, oh, you can't do the Luna one-tap combo anymore. But it does 254 damage. So you still one-tap 250 characters, by the way. So you buff his ult, and yeah, okay, it's a damage, nerf. But in the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They die anyway.
Yeah.
And then like you're gonna get beamed by the monster. I mean, like, what are you gonna, I'm gonna get diffed on Hela by a monster. Like, spawn. What am I supposed to do?
That's Monstro here. Okay, my question is the Gamma Monstro. Does the Gamma Monstro have damage fall off as well? Because my beef with Namor,
I think they did say that they're adjusting that.
The range of Gamma Monstro just pisses me off. Why am I being outraged? Like, that range is ridiculous. That needed to come down. I was surprised we didn't see it. Like,
so they aren't reducing the range. or the damage. It's just the cooldown from 15 seconds to 20 seconds of the Gamma Monstro, which I don't think is going to be effective enough, in my opinion.
Cuffy, am I overreacting here? Is the range from the Gamma Monstro crazy? Because that might be the most annoying thing to me personally when I play the game.
Yeah, I think Namor is a very annoying character, but I think Namor himself is just as annoying as the Taurus. I don't know if you can. Shroud X is a team that sticks out to me. The way they play Namor.
Oh my gosh,
just annoying. Anyways, but I definitely don't think that Gamma Squids are anywhere near as oppressive as the Ice Squids. I think Ice Squids, the slow was atrocious. But yeah, the range is a bit stupid. Like if that range was decreased, no one's gonna say that was unnecessary. It would be a completely fine change. But the main thing here is that 15 to 20 second CD makes it a lot more punishable to play in those hard flanky Namor playstyles. So I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out. And I was gonna say as well with the Iron Man, we're talking about Beam because that's a lot of Iron Man's value, but we need to think about other characters like the Punisher that can play that exact same playstyle and might just be able to do it better.
I think the fly value of Iron Man, like the ability to either fly over the front line and get immediately smoked, or flank, like the idea we were talking about it off broadcast, where like I show up, I delete Luna, and then Hela deletes me as the Iron Man. I win. Like I win, right? That's something that Punisher can't do as well. So I feel you on that. Like these tracking characters, right, do the similar things, but I play too much Iron Man, so I get that.
I agree with you. Because like I think also just the offset of the Iron Man, like we have that offset of because personally on Hela, I love shooting. The sound of shooting Iron Man is satisfying, by the way. But like I have to offset my aim all the time. It disrupts my ability to have a constant damage output, which is something Flyers does well because they offset my aim. I have to focus them there. Then I have no damage output in main. And if Punisher's playing main with his team, I have constant damage output on main, no matter what.
That's big. I'm laughing because that's big Counter-Strike player energy. Like you move my crosshair from here to here.
Yeah, it's horrible. That's horrible.
But it's real. It's real. It's real. Like simple yeah, absolutely. Like it's really funny though. Like Iron Man is he's such a beacon. If when an Iron Man starts doing well, you press tab and the entire team has changed to Hela, Hawkeye, Strange. Like they're just all. You're like my teammate's also 40-3, but everybody's gunning for the Iron Man because he's just so it can be so impactful if ignored. So, yeah, these are good changes. Namor, I hate that guy.
Speaking of characters, a lot of people hate recently in the meta, Psylocke. So they're basically when they shoot their shuriken out and bring it back, it does a little bit less damage from 14 to 12, and then invisibility duration reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. I don't think this is enough of a nerf, personally. I think Psylocke's still going to be very effective and viable out there. I think that, yes, it will make it harder to do the the one-shot combos that we've seen there. Just decimate the back line. But I mean, Cuffy, talking about Psylocke in terms of meta with these changes, I don't think it's going to change too much, will it?
I have to disagree with you, Vodible. Not to disrupt you at all.
You're good.
Coffee, and I want to let you go on, but I think the big thing is the duration of the stealth, because that's her whole gist.
That's true. Yeah, for the flanking.
Like her being able to sneak up behind you with the 3 seconds. A 1 second decrease seems so minor, but that's 33% of her entire enemy is gone, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I was just mainly thinking about the damage aspect of it, but I didn't even think about the 1 whole second decrease for that too, because I've been playing a decent amount of Psylocke recently just because of how well they've been performing. And yeah, having 1 less second to that time that you can just get to a better flank and cross a gap in between the different lanes that are in the maps there, and it's okay, now it's easier for you to get picked out in that split second moment that your invis comes out, and it's you do the ping on the Psylocke, and then they're flanking behind us, and your whole team moves away from that. So yeah, that is true on that one. I'm assuming Cuffy will have the same agreement for that too.
I mean, yeah, it's something that I've thought about, but I was actually gonna have more of a compositional approach. Psylocke's obviously doing well because Emma's strong, Cap is strong.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, Psylocke Emma is gonna be fine still, like maybe playable, just because Psylocke is still like one of the stronger dive options. But at the same time, Emma with a mag or Emma with a strange, there's no need to run Psy with that. You could just play another DPS that plays another win condition, play the Hawkeye, play the Hela. Those are going to be better characters.
Oh, Hawkeye for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's so true, I think. You're completely right, Coffee. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
She feels like a counter character now, where like you're not picking her straight up, but like if one of their easily exploitable characters is farming, you put your flank on a Psylocke and target that guy specifically. I mean, wing shurikens, you land everything, you pull them, you do 70 damage. Now you do 60. I don't really care. The stealth is huge.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense of that. Squirrel Girl, I've seen a lot of people talking about these changes here. So you have more ammo capacity than you did before. You don't have as much cooldown with the Mammal Bond as well for that specific character too. And then for the Squirrel, Blockade, Tail Bounce, and Tsunami ultimate abilities does optimize the user experience. I'm thinking just like visual cues probably for things of that sort, and knowing exactly like where these things are going and how you're like going in a specific direction for using Squirrel Girl for that specifically. But in terms of the like Mammal Bond, that's just like reloading your acorns there without cooldown once using that specific ability. I think it's just going to make it so that you can shoot a lot more Groot walls with it. And, that's going to be effective for that. But in terms of like overall composition wise, Squirrel Girl's not necessarily been like a meta pick, right? If I'm not mistaken about this.
Yeah,
right.
You'll see her for maybe like first 30 seconds of Spider Island. Down to break triple tank, spawn hold, and then you swap the character after all, you know what I mean? Like, still not a horrendous character, but it's just better.
But with this, it allows you to shoot indefinitely, by the way, right? So I think that's a big thing, that the indefinite shooting is the thing. And I think in the next upcoming season here, spam is gonna be the meta with Punisher, Storm, Hawkeye, Squirrel Girl, like Starlord, even Hela as well. It's gonna be spam, and it's gonna be horrible, and I'm gonna love it.
I'm sure a lot of like the lower ranked people will love it too, because they can just like mindlessly be on an angle with Squirrel Girl and just have the acorns like bounce off of a wall and like still hit people in the point.
Look at my damage number. That's the only thing that matters. I can't wait to.
I didn't feel like it was. I feel like it was like kind of unprecedented to buff Squirrel Girl, because I feel like she was in a fine state. But I think they want to push. So I think they want to push the spam meta out there a little bit. I think that's why they're buffing Squirrel Girl and some of the other characters.
I'm really interested in the last point. Optimize user, like throwing Squirrel Blockade. I'm going to use a very technical term here. Feels bad. Like it just feels shitty to aim. Like I don't really know how to make that more of a specific statement. It just feels bad, and however this user experience change is, that's what maybe it'll feel better. I don't know if that's a camera angle change. I don't know if that's a UI UX change, but like this is a feels bad, and maybe it makes it a feels good. I don't think she needs but she's a solid, fine character. I'm not offended, but I'm very interested in that user experience note for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing to see, like if it's really that noticeable of a change. It makes it easier for people to kind of get at a higher skill level with Squirrel Girl on that. Like I know people always make the meme of like, yeah, you don't need to aim, you just click in a certain direction, and then that's where it's going.
By the way, Hela gets 70 damage on her basic attack, right? Squirrel Girl direct hit 110. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's why you gotta aim. So talking about Star-Lord here, we'll kind of go through the last three here so we can kind of speed through things as we're already past the 2-hour mark. For Star-Lord, they're increasing the energy cost for their ultimates and also extending the maximum target range from 30 meters to 40 meters on that ultimate too, and adjusting the damage fall off from reducing to 60% at 40 meters to reducing at 75% at 40 meters there specifically. So a little bit of a range nerf, but also extends the maximum range in terms of like the damage fall off for those specific numbers, but also makes it so you aren't hearing legendary like 50 times during when you're playing after a Star-Lord's just been shooting into the fray of the tanks that are out there the entire time. I think this is a needed nerf and will make it a bit more manageable for people playing against Star-Lord. But hey, Hal got buffed, so you don't really have to worry as much.
I think the big thing here is, obviously the because like we had already had fall off introduced like in the last patch, right?
Yeah.
But the thing with Star-Lord was his ult. You got it so fast. They nerfed that now. But in the fact that they nerfed that, they extend the range from 30 to 40. I think that is a more big change than you realize, right?
It is, yeah. Like 10 extra meters. Yeah. I know like the extra damage fall off at 40 meters is like good, but I don't think that'll affect it negatively to the point where you're not as effective because now you have that extended range.
Coffee, do you know what is Emma's ult distance?
Oh, let's see.
I don't remember. Because
I'm going through the heroes right now.
If it negates Emma's ult now, I feel it's going to be a big thing because like Emma's ult against Star-Lord was kind of like the
30 meters.
So there you
go. That's what it's for then.
Now you can effectively get out of range of that ulting Emma and Star-Lord, and you just beam her, and that's gonna be a big thing because that was a headache when even me playing Star-Lord. I mean, like it was a headache. The Emma just ults me and I'm just gone. I have to LOS my entire ult, otherwise I'm just gonna die. Now I can be in LOS. She can't hit me, and I beam her. I think that's a big change. I'd eat the 300 extra ult charge to be able to do that.
How much is 300 ult charge?
Sorry, let me talk about this real quick. So I think when they are mentioning this, they're mentioning it a bit different. It says extend the maximum target range from 30 meters to 40 meters. You could already shoot people at 40 meters, but the locking target where it like does the auto aim stuff is now 40 meters instead of 30. Just for those that are not as like in tune with the specifics about that. So that is massive. And sorry, what were you saying, F.?
What is the tangible, I guess Cuffy, help me out with this, 3,100, 3,400, what does this number mean? Does this mean like an extra, I know it's all based on damage, etc., but like, are we looking at an extra 30 seconds, an extra 10 seconds, an extra minute per ult?
I mean, it's a good question, to be honest, because the way that the games do this it's always slightly different between games, but I guess how you would calculate it is, how long would it take to get the average Star-Lord, or maybe a minute, 20 seconds? Or it's obviously longer than a minute, but like a minute, 20 seconds to that 2 minute. Yeah, to that 2 minute mark. But, in these sort of games, like 30 seconds is an entire fight at points, you know what I mean? So I guess we would kind of go about that. We can maybe add on another 15-20 seconds on average, but that's another 15-20 seconds of healers being able to heal, mags with mags extra damage, for example, being able to outcycle it. But yeah, Star-Lord will still be viable in like triple res and stuff like that. It'll be more than okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's too big of a nerf too, and I think they still are going to be able to charge their ultimate at a decent rate even without 100%. It. So
especially if you
those
play
use cases, then seeing exactly like how effective they'll be based on that. Looking at Storm moving forward, some extra damage output from the Omega Hurricane, also coupling that with the Jeff NATO. I think they're just trying to make it easier for people to get eliminations with using that ultimate ability, and so that people are trying to escape it, kind of get taken advantage of, a bit more damage. Will the 10 damage per second really affect it too much? I don't really know. I think you're dying either way if you're really in it.
Sometimes we buff characters because their play rate is low, and we want to remind people they exist. So we give them a tiny, insignificant buff. That's what this smells like. I mean, Canute and Cuffy, help me out here. 10 damage a second on the ultimate feels like nothing.
Yeah, me and my team did some numbers, and all we really gathered from this, like obviously 10 damage, but with the damage boost now, you can kill through the Luna ult.
Oh,
I think that's
Okay,
No,
so
that's-
that's good.
no, that's like a huge difference. Okay, that's what I was fishing for. That's a huge
And,
difference.
and that's the thing. Like Storm again with spam is gonna get her ult fast. Now with the damage boost, you obliterate the enemy support ult. I mean, like you just call it a day.
Word. No, that is. I talk a lot about thresholds, right? And I was thinking like, okay, so you kill a 300 character, 310, who cares? That's the big threshold though. Okay, word. Yeah, because it's 150. Damn. Yeah, that'll cool.
I wonder
Yes,
if that'll make Storm be chosen a bit more often though, or not, based on
I think
that.
so.
Because like if you do have the Luna on the other team, that they save it and they ban your Luna out sort of deal, like I think Storm's still vulnerable enough in their ultimate too, especially with like Emma having their ability. I think it does cancel out the Omega Hurricane if I'm not mistaken, if you time it correctly, there as well. So I'm like, will it change things too much? Maybe, but in specific use cases, that will definitely be effective for those that aren't like as in tune with the patch notes and expecting it. Maybe.
And then like just real quick with that, obviously that's super cool for Storm, but we also need to remember that with Hela, Punisher, Hawkeye, and these kind of characters giving the green card, it's going to be harder for Storm to play around and be more free.
Yeah.
So it's like it's an indirect nerf to a direct buff,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of Punisher and talking about those changes there too, they got a boost to their mid to long range damage and mobility buff during their ultimate, as I was talking about. So reduces the movement slow rate of Final Judgment from 20% to 10% when not firing, which is massive. And then also from 40% to 30%. So you're like, you hit the gym a lot better and you can actually move a lot faster with your gear that you're chugging along when you use the ultimate as Punisher. And then also the magazine size from 30 to 40. We already kind of talked about that. And the single hit damage from 18 to 19. Slightly reducing the spread size when firing also makes it so you're kind of like hitting the center mass a little bit better that way instead. I mean, as you talked about this, Knuten, this is a good buff, but like even more so, I think this is very necessary for Punisher players that seemed, especially without the ammo overload, not the ammo overload, the ammo team up that they had with Rocket Raccoon being removed. This is like a good kind of way to amend that.
Yeah, I mean, like, they better than buff him when they remove that power up. Or otherwise, I was going to find out where it is. Like, where is the headquarters? I was going to go to headquarters and complain personally. Like, I'll throw, like, toilet paper at their headquarters. I don't know. Like,
Not
and
actually.
not actually, guys. In-game. And then,
In Minecraft.
Minecraft, yeah.
And then, remember the 5% damage buff? So it's 20 damage without the headshots. And then with the reduced range, the reduced spread, it just makes it easier to like, for good tracking people to really just demolish tanks. And Punisher deserves this buff with his team up being taken away for sure. I think it's good.
Yeah, and if you have a Black Widow that's decent on your team, you get that 5%. As you're talking about damage buff as well is going to be kind of
you get it
insane.
permanently.
You get that no matter what.
Oh, you get that no matter what.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
Anchor-
is it like a season buff?
Yes.
it's a season.
Oh wow.
So-
Okay, that's really good then. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Why? You remember why Hela was OP in the beginning?
Because
She had
of the buff,
seasonal-
yeah.
Exactly. They removed that, and she's like, obviously strong still.
The
but,
design,
like,
the design intent is to introduce these interesting team ups, and one guy is just really good, and the other guy gets the bonus for playing with the other guy.
'Cause I think
so-
Strange had one before too, right?
yeah, Strange had
Like
one.
HP.
That's why I'm staring. I thought they were going to do this for season 2. They're going to do it later. I was staring at Hawkeye and Black Widow. Like, Hawkeye one-shots and Black Widow doesn't. Hawkeye has an anchor bonus. Whenever Hawkeye loses his anchor bonus and Black Widow gets it, Hawkeye will stop one-shotting and Black Widow will. That's like,
That. Yeah.
So that's my thing.
Very curious to what that'll be like as well. Strategists, we'll go over these real quick. So Jeff the Landshark, we kind of already talked about what was going for that. Oh, Knut, did you have something to say? Sorry.
I'm just looking at Jeff the Landshark's notes, so it's like reading a whole novel.
It really is. There's a lot to go over for that. We kind of like showcase the difference in how things were being before. So the Joyful Splash now deals damage to enemies at 70 per second and can heal allies through other allies. That's what we talked about. You couldn't do that before. You couldn't heal through each other. So it's nice that you see that. Damage fall off starts at 20 meters to a maximum of 65% at 40 meters and reduces the healing per second from 150 to 130. So There is a little bit of a change in the healing per second, but you can like burst heal basically where you couldn't before, and have like 2 teammates or like 2 tanks that are next to each other heal both of them, sort of deal, based on positioning. And I think this is overall a better thing for Jeff. The Aqua Burst charge max charges are 3 and 3 seconds per charge for that specific cooldown. And direct hits also launch enemies up and increases spell field damage from 40 to 45. So like kind of like that AoE, if there's someone near where you shoot it, it does that much damage to them. I think that's a good change as well. Can help with taking people off the point if you combo it with like other stuff. And if you're like hitting someone who's on the point with that ability, and there is a Captain America also like moving them off the objective, it's just a bad time. So that's something you could see with that. The healing bubble, from one-time healing to healing over time, that's a good change. Well, it's an interesting change. I know a lot of people didn't like that because they like the instant heal that you could just get if you pick it up. Healing over time, I think it changes the support aspect of that specifically. And it increases the healing amount from the previous instant 85 to 120 over 4 seconds. So this is kind of a thing that you just like, while you're healing your teammates, as we saw in the video, you put a bubble out so they're also getting healing over time. Probably for the tanks that are out there too is huge for them just to have that, but it's not like instantly healing them, which is a nerf on that end, and reduces the charges in half and reduces the enemy launch up effect. So you can't just knock people off the map with your bubbles anymore, which sucks.
But I think it's good. Like it incentivizes, Jeff actually being a strategist rather than a DPS. And then, like, goes on the ground and then like insta heals after getting, within 1 HP. It's a good change, for sure.
Also
really
a bit more of a cooldown on when you're hiding too.
Yeah, that's huge. I really like the burst damage on the bubbles. I think that like having a light well out there was cool. Playing tank, you're like, the bubble's over there. I know when to hit it. When now you kind of just got to step on them when they
like
come
you're on
out.
health pack.
Yeah, exactly. But we talked about it before. This is great change. This was Cuffy said it best. This is a character correction.
Interesting change here that I didn't see before. So increased damage reduction received when taking a critical hit from 50% to 70%. I think that's interesting, maybe to help with survivability on that end as well.
He's underground less, so he's easier to headshot. So just lower the headshot damage.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Then also they increase the energy cost of their ult, so you're not getting it as often. But I think based on the extra utility of giving overshield to your teammates that have it is good on that end. And because they're going to be more in the backline and not as forward facing, again, puts it towards that strategist focused ultimate for that as well. Luna Snow, talking about their damage, and I mixed it up before when we were talking about Emma Frost, but this is what I was talking about. You do more damage from 20 to 22, and you have this new effect to absolute 0 where it grants 50 bonus health per enemy hit, which is also insane. And it does increase the ultimate, so you won't be getting that Fate of Both Worlds as often as you were before, from 4,500 to 5,000. Coffee, I'm going to you because we haven't heard from you in a bit. How is this change going to affect the meta?
I mean, it's like how we described it earlier, right? It's either a must pick or a must ban. If one team has a Luna, and especially like because of the Hawkeye
team up, yeah.
If one team has a Luna and the other team doesn't, they're gonna be at a significant advantage or disadvantage, especially now that we can't lean into dive stuff as much. If one team first bans out Luna, the next team is gonna second ban out Luna. Like that's just how it's gonna be, I feel, in the pro scene.
So what this also does too, it makes it so Loki's energy cost for their copying ability to copy a Luna Snow is 1,000 less than Luna Snow's is. So we're likely going to see Loki also be kind of still targeted even more so with that as well.
That's actually huge. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. Very short rant. Very cool. That's a big nerf to the frequency of the ultimate. Why is it still 12 seconds? Like, give me. I don't need to see it nerfed to hell.
Maybe you need 12 seconds to dance. That's what it is.
Give me 10 seconds. Give me 9 seconds. Like seriously, That's it. I said it before, and Cuffy was like, "You're insane." I like that the game is balanced around these giant trank ults. I like that, actually. 12 seconds is too long. Like, come on now. So that's the change that I'm hoping for. That's my comment on the Luna change. That
and then
the one we didn't see is the one I want.
And then real quick, adding to this, like, I would have been fine if it just increased the energy cost. Like, why do we want to buff her more? Why do we enable her?
Right?
She's already strong.
Yeah.
Just like give her the energy nerf, and then call it a day. I mean, like why are we doing this?
Industry plant character. She got plot armor, dude. Like, she has plot armor. Luna Snow has to be good. The game balanced around her.
What's the next? She's gonna be able to one-tap people like through walls as well. I mean, like, fuck.
I mean, what's kind of crazy though too, like when you hit people with her freeze, that's the absolute zero. You get 50 HP as
why?
That's gonna like prevent diving even more so because it just gives her like her health back after she's already taken damage.
It's crazy. But yeah, I think it's just why buff her more? Just nerf her a little bit, call it a day. I mean, like, yeah. But that's all I have for Luna Snow. I think it's a little stupid, to be honest. But you know, they do what they do.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy on that end. Okay, Rocket Raccoon. I know, Cuffy, you're like the Rocket Raccoon like fanboy in here as well. So, you know, no more ammo overload, losing that team up anchor bonus as well. But they got a new bonus. You reduced repair mode direct hit healing amount from 55 to 50. Is that going to like affect things a lot here too for the way that like Rocket Raccoon acts currently with the way that you see their repair mode? That's the little orbs for those who don't know the actual games.
I didn't even know that, to be honest.
Yeah, the direct healing. So when you hit someone with it, they get 50 instead of 55. I think that's going to make it not as good for Rocket Raccoon too.
But Coffee can answer this. Isn't it hits you, it heals you for 50, and then it does like continuous healing? No, I think that's how it works, right?
30 per second.
Yeah,
30 per second. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a change. So before there wasn't any direct hits. Now you have to direct hit. And now they're decreasing it from 55 to 50, even though the character is not great. On a macro scale and like a team play level, Rocket Raccoon was strong because he had that engagement and then he had a res, a very consistent res. And now all he has left is his res. He doesn't even have his team ups. I'm not gonna ask for a penny ever. So that's a bit of an awkward situation now because yeah, cool, he has a res. He doesn't even have the best res. I would argue that the Hella Loki team up alone is like just as good as this 45-second cooldown.
Absolutely busted.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there's the Adam triple, and it's like Rocket right now is probably the worst support because Jeff is like not actually
I
bad
think so
character.
too. Yeah. Well, no, Ultron's the worst support.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, of course. Right. But like this adds to the question: why are we buffing Luna when Raccoon is in a state of where he isn't necessarily the best? So why would you play him? You know, like the only reason why I think you would play him is the rest, right? So why are we buffing Luna? Why not? Well, give him more healing. Give him like anything else. I don't know, man. But like, give him something to work with. You know? Removing like the ammo overload. I feel like that was a big thing with Raccoon. I loved getting a Raccoon. He was my little bro. Like we ran around the map. We flanked with like a shotgun and infinite ammo. You know. But like then we removed that and we reduced his healing. I think that's. I mean, like what's happened?
Just doesn't have any personality at all. Like the character just does not have an identity. He does not really. What is he like? You know, what is he?
Well said. Yeah, I think this patch, like big picture, this patch is showing, and like, you know, I'm not afraid from dunking on them, but I'm not dunking on the devs here. I think this is just like they are coming to terms with balancing a game, not just with characters, but also with team ups. I'm seeing some like we've agreed on some of these mistakes of the patch notes, and I think a lot of them are not taking into account the lack of or addition of a new team up and an adjustment. It feels like two different teams, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like that. As we get more patches, they're gonna get better at that. So this Cuffy, or what Knutson was saying with the team up being gone, like I wouldn't have touched Rocket with the team up being gone. Maybe I do if he keeps it. But the idea that as they get used to deal, because the team ups cycling out season after season. They can bring old ones back. They can just introduce new ones. They could leave them in. Those are seasonal buffs. They're called seasonal team ups. They're pushing that. That is a kind of novel idea in hero shooters, in ensemble games. So I think that is, we got to get better as players, as competitors, understanding the meta and figuring it out. They will get better as designers, understanding their play cycles and their systems design. So I see a couple of these issues where I'm just like, oh, that won't happen maybe next time. You know, they'll improve as well, making the game. So I'm not going to dunk on them too hard, but it does feel like a little bit of an oversight with respect to the team ups and execution here.
I agree, and like with you
Sorry,
guys
just got an
Overwatch-
update from chat that we're hearing live here. Shout out to Ash there specifically, but apparently there wasn't enough teams that filled out their rosters from the ones that were directly invited in EMEA. So there will be at least potentially 2 more teams added for the qualifications in EMEA in the second qualifier, which is
For the
like,
invitation,
what is
or-
going on here?
I just
Why did
watched
these
Cuffy's
teams who should have been
face,
invited
like-
not get invited initially, and now they have to like do this?
Wait, what?
It's rough.
Wait, so they're getting directly invited to?
No. So they're, instead of having 4 people qualify
Yeah.
from split 2, it's 6.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Oh, whoa, what? Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay,
2 teams apparently could not field rosters or
That's
denied
interesting.
to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Also, real quick, I want to follow up on you with what you're saying with the seasonal buffs. I don't know what happened in Overwatch, but I could imagine that the meta went stale, and this with the seasonal buffs, it prevents this because then you rotate around all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. You know, I don't know if Overwatch is dead. I don't know. I haven't played Overwatch, but I could just imagine that this is a good thing because it prevents the staleness of a meta.
It's
There were
huge.
definitely moments like Overwatch right now. The competitive scene is like actually pretty good. To be fair, it's good. But then at the same time, there was Goats meta where people were playing the same comps for like 2 years because of Tensor and his team.
Dude, there is an argument. Cuffy, I'm sure you've heard it. Knuten, there's an argument with the collapse of the Overwatch League, with the idea of American gazillionaires investing in the Overwatch League and it falling down. There's an idea that the GOATS meta ruined North American esports for the next 5 years. Like seriously,
But the
like
GOATS
you had Madison
tanks,
Square
right?
Garden Company
Oh,
investing,
man.
and then
Oh,
the GOATS
man.
meta, they didn't change anything,
Goats
and now we
meta
don't got no
kill
money.
esports.
Really? But
That's
was
the
like you-
headline.
You can
Wait,
be
so you-
annoying and say that for sure.
Listen, I haven't even played the game, but wasn't it a Brigitte and then 3 tanks and 2
Yes.
healers?
Yeah, free tanks, free supports, and Brigitte was just giga busted. She could do everything.
Gosh.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't play that game.
Yeah, like all of these games, unlike Counter-Strike, Counter-Strike changes the CZ once every 15 years. Like all of these games get changed like once a month. There's a balance patch where they buff this guy, they nuke this guy. But the seasonal team-ups, these are character reworks. Taking
love
an
the
ability,
team-ups.
giving a new ability. Your character Punisher is drastically different this patch than it was last patch. That's the novel idea. That's the really cool thing for me, coming from a world of, all these characters with all these abilities. You're saying you're going to literally just change these heroes every other patch? That's dope. That will keep it fresh. You can
It makes the
change the
game
identity.
unique compared to
Yeah.
like other hero shooters and hero titles out there that they have these team up abilities, and I think that is part of what makes Marvel Rivals like so interesting in terms of that development of the meta. I mean, Jesse, if you could scroll down a little bit so we can look at the new team ups and the specifics about those. The anchors, of course, being so effective too, and we talk about Luna Snow, yeah, their ultimate's getting nerfed a little bit. If Hawkeye is on the team with Luna Snow, they get a 50% increase in healing effects. That is insane.
Anchor. No. Again, clarification. Anchor is always active.
Always active.
Always.
Okay, so
So-
this entire season, Luna Snow is going to have a
Luna is
50%
gonna
increase
be
in healing effects.
True map
She
ban.
already
Nice.
she already had one though. So
Okay,
she's
okay.
so she's maintaining.
So she's just maintaining that. Okay.
Yes.
It's not.
So she
It's not
al-
increased
yeah.
from that. Okay.
No, she
That's what I need to
already
know.
had one. She was the anchor for Fister and for the Jeff, and now she's the anchor for Hawkeye. So it's the same amount of healing. Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
but then I want to
Good.
talk about the rocket rework with Chuffy here, because they remove 5 healing, but there's a 5% increase now because it's the anchor. So how much is the 5 healing actually? Because it's not 5 anymore, because we get 5% extra in healing effects. So how much healing does Raccoon actually lose? I don't have the numbers on that.
Yeah, it's like 5 per bubble, basically, is what they lose.
Yeah, and then but you have 5% increase in healing effects. So how much
Yes.
do you actually lose?
Oh yeah, you know what? That's true.
I mean, Rocket's healing is impacted by if he's getting a direct hit versus not getting a direct hit. But yeah, I can imagine the healing output of Rocket wouldn't be horrendous because of this increase. But again, it would be dependent on how many shots someone's hitting and over the course of what period of time, you know?
Doesn't he already have an anchor effect though? Is this just the same thing with Luna, the maintain of the 5%?
How do you
Uh,
know?
This is a good question because
I
see
opened
the
my
show
client
on
20
Rant,
minutes
it did
ago,
so
so
good.
I'm still
It
compiling.
doesn't say on the
Is that-
client is the crazy thing. I think you have to look at like team ups on the website for it.
I mean, I know for a fact in season 0, Rocket did have, I don't know if the numbers were the same, but Rocket did have that increased healing, even back in the day. So I'm not too sure. Maybe that's just been there. But if it has been there and it's just like
Yeah,
that, then I feel like Rocket's healing is gonna not be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Rocket
100%.
has a 5% healing bonus currently.
All right.
Okay, right now.
So
Where
sounds
do you
like
check
it's the
it's
same.
enough.
Do you go to like
Yeah.
the heroes to find that? I'm trying to make sure we know for like
I
future
went to-
episodes.
I went to like when you're choosing heroes in practice.
Gotcha,
when you
gotcha.
click on a
in practice,
hero-
that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Well, before like just on the hero select screen, when you choose a hero, it shows you the team ups they can have. So he has a 5% healing bonus by default. All of the characters that have the Rivals logo, the little yellow thing in the bottom corner,
That's
they have
what
a
it is.
seasonal anchor bonus that is always active. And then the characters without that don't have a seasonal bonus, but will get an extra ability by way of being played with an anchor. That's the
I see it, yeah.
system's design. It's again, like I'm gushing. It's a really genius system. I really
Season
like
bonus
the team up
versus
system.
not season bonus. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's really, really cute. But so he already had 5%. He's maintaining the 5%.
yeah.
Just
So
like,
yeah, he does have a straight nerf
Yeah.
to his healing then.
Yeah.
Cool.
yeah.
But-
Luna right now has 15%. She will maintain that 15%.
Gotcha,
So that's
gotcha.
good.
I think
Punisher though, speaking to that, Punisher does not have a buff right now, and so
True.
he will
That'll
be
be big.
gaining the health of 25 and 5% boost in damage output, no matter what. Even if Black Widow's not on the team, he gets that. Remember, so
Yeah.
that's a buff.
And I think honestly, like this patch in total is good, and I feel like the rival devs are good at following along on what's happening. But I have two like, why are we nerfing Raccoon, and why are we buffing Hawkeye and Luna? That's
Agreed.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think it's a really good patch. I think it's gonna be fun to play the next season where I don't get permadived by a shark.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Cuffy,
In
is
terms
this
of like
harder?
Iron Man.
Sorry,
Does Iron Man get a buff?
Iron Man does not get a buff. Oh, Iron
No.
Man.
He
not
does.
get
He gets a
buff.
5%
Oh.
damage boost.
Dude,
Hello.
the beam is actually gonna be severe looking. Oh. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
so-
for Stark Protocol, he gains a 5% damage boost. That's yeah, they don't have a current season bonus or anything.
Yeah, so the beam is just gonna be like even stronger, right?
Yes.
And, the
Yeah.
repulse
And
is
that's
gonna
why
take
they
a little bit of
adjusted
it.
some of the damage stuff
Yeah.
for that. That makes a lot of sense.
There you go.
But like overall, I think it was a good patch. I think Luna
Yeah.
and Hawkeye questionable, Rocket questionable, but otherwise, I think they hit straight on with most of the nerfs and the buffs in this.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about this nerf specifically. And well, two of them actually. So Fantastic Four, their like coverage ability that gives them like the mini shields. It's increased the cooldown of that by 20 seconds to 25. That also nerfs the survivability of Human Torch, because when you have a Human Torch and Invisible Woman, you can use that as well to sustain yourself a little bit more. I think that's a good change too in terms of that specific team up. That's all the way at the bottom, Jesse. Sorry. Thank you. And then for mental projection, Emma Frost, Psylocke, Magneto adjustments there as well. Reduce the portion of damage caused by magnetic resonance and soul resurgence illusions from 30% to 20%.
That's a
That
good
is
change.
definitely
That's a good
needed
change.
too, because that is also nerfing the effectiveness of Psylocke with that team up with Emma Frost and how much damage the like little clone can do with it.
Really, yeah, it's almost like Christmas came early with this honestly. I
Sorry,
think,
your
say
mic
so.
cut out there for a sec.
I think it's almost like Christmas came early. I mean, this is a good, this is in general, this is a really good shake-up of the meta.
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
it's a big one. It's a big one. And so, Cuffy, I wanted to ask you, like, this is a patch that drastically changes the meta. We were playing one game, and after this patch on the 30th, we will be playing a slightly different game. Looking at the meta right now with how diverse or not diverse the top teams are with respect to their drafts, does this new meta make it more of an open game? You can pick more of what you want to play, or is it more or are there less characters that are viable? Is this more open or more closed meta?
Yeah, like this current meta, like not the one that we're looking at right now, but you know, it was awful. Like the Iron Fist and all of these random characters that kept coming into play. One, Dive is it's a more organized team comp to run. It's a lot harder to coach a dive comp because there's lots of components and timings and areas to hit and stuff like that. This is a more straightforward, more linear playstyle to play, at least at a worse level. But actually, the game has not really evolved to the point where we've seen these really good poke, medium to long range, outside of maybe some hybrid maps and stuff like that, where there are already established setups. But this will be interesting because the teams that are going to be able to walk their tank up and then swing based on their tank and set up crossfires and do stuff like that. We haven't seen any team really be able to do that well or at like a comparable level to what we see after 9 years of Overwatch esports. You know what I mean? So that the team that can do that well is gonna end up winning a lot. But I'm just glad. Well, I'm just glad that it doesn't seem like it's going to be a completely random set of heroes in the meta. Could you imagine if there was like a competitive season and then patch dropped midway through and it happened to be Iron Fist meta, so what, 2 teams could play it? You know what I mean?
Oh man.
I'm just happy that we got that out of the way so we can focus on the actual like competitive metas for this
Agreed.
for this set of tournaments. But yeah,
I agree 100%.
Sorry, I'm just gathering
Sounds
a couple
positive.
things I forgot to report on today. Some
Sounds
community
positive.
stuff going on.
I think that's a cool note is that like games, let's be real, gamers are doomers. Like usually every patch note review is this is awful. I'm very happy to see that because I was really amped about this. And as a caster, you think you understand the game, but then you talk to a pro player, you know what I mean? And so I read the patch notes and I was like, I think I love this patch. Like, this is dope. I don't know why 1 or 2 changes happen, but like overall it's good. And I'm really glad to hear that the player and the coach mentality is kind of echoing that sentiment. That's really dope to see that, you know, these early patches are, I forget which one of you said it, but you said like the developers like are keeping track of what's going on. Sometimes you play a game and you're like, do you even play your own game? This feels like they're tuning in, which I think is really dope.
It's important. It's very
Heck
important.
yeah. I mean, it's great to like talk about the meta. It's great to hear from you guys about the meta specifically. I do want to give shout outs to some community stuff that's going on in the background while this is happening and what's coming up for different events that are happening. So NACC, they recently announced their NACC Marvel Rivals Summer Tournament. This is an officially sanctioned Marvel Rivals Collegiate League by NetEase. Shout out to them for giving a tournament license to NACC for this. They're going to have divisional structures of 32 to 64 teams each, round robin groups for 6 to 8 within each division. Top 3 from each group makes the division playoffs, and it's free for NACC members or $60 for non-members. PC and console as well for that, and registration closes on the 11th of June, so they'll have multiple weeks of competition, and this is just getting prepared for their fall season that they'll be starting for that as well. It's great that we have collegiate interest. I think last time they had over 100 teams sign up for this as well. And I know I mean, we come from doing collegiate Rocket League stuff there too, and seeing how much interest there already is in this. And there's a lot of people that just play collegiate Overwatch that are looking at this as well. I mean, this is a great thing for the esport to have an actual league popping up that has that much interest already.
Give me more games that matter. Yeah, absolutely.
On the other side too, I know Knuten, I just casted you this weekend with Spaceman. Shout out.
Yeah.
Zero Tenacity, the #1 seed going into the Vanguardian League finals, which is either this weekend or next, depending on how they figure out their scheduling based on what's going on. But yeah, you guys are the #1 seed. They announced that today. Arrival 7, #2, 2AM Esports, #3, Virus, #4, Cafe Noir, #5, Rank X, #6, Silly Cat are #7, and Splash Squad are #8. So I mean, Knuten playing in that league from across the pond and going up against some of the like maybe lesser known competitors there in NA. How are you feeling about the competition that you've had so far? You kind of destroyed the teams that we were casting you play against the other day.
It's a little funny, the best NA team is a EMEA team,
That's what I said.
Yeah, exactly. I'm quoting off you. No, but I think it was fine. I can definitely feel a difference from, and obviously everyone has a learning curve, and everyone is learning the game still. Like we can definitely feel that maybe we are a little bit overgunned for this tournament so far. Of what I've experienced, recently coming back into C10. Do you remember Chalk It, for example?
Yes.
The matchup, yeah. So we actually eliminated them for going into playoffs. Yeah. And they were a really good team, the best team, and I mean we just will help them, and it's I wanna I don't know how to I wanna completely remain respectful, but I think we kind of like out calibrated, these teams a little bit,
With all due respect, we really beat the hell out of them, okay?
Yeah. I don't know how to say it nicely, okay? But we won, and I don't feel like it was close, okay? I'm sorry. Okay, and I don't know how to say it nicely, but anyway,
no,
it was
it's
fun
sport.
anyway.
Speak plainly, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun anyway, and I like playing in the league, and everyone had a good attitude, and it's a good initiative that we get some more leagues into the scene. The more the better, the more the viewers, everything grows, and everything is awesome. So definitely props to everyone behind the Vanguardian League, and I think we should keep it up and throw more initiative out there. And I even know that you can get in contact with the Vanguardian League if you want to help them grow their scene.
There you go. Yeah,
So
they reached out to me about some other leagues that they're trying to get going in other scenes. So they're just like a great organization that's grassroots, that's trying to do some good stuff for the community over there. So shout out to the people that are putting on Vanguardian Leagues, Dead Talk specifically, who helped bring me on to cast some of that stuff too. And Teriyaki as well. I see you in the chat still. Shout out to Pyro. Thank you for the raid so much on that as well. Hopefully your Marvel Monday stream went well for that too. I know usually we're not still live this late itself, but also got to announce another community initiative that I talked to the people for this one earlier today. I think you did too, Ep.5 and Spaceman. 365 Respawn have a $10,000 prize pool, 2-split league that they're popping up with console and PC players welcome. They're going to have multiple divisions similar to how NECC does their stuff. So you can compete at the top division, you compete in other divisions. They'll have promo relegations every season, and casted matches each of those weeks. They're trying to figure out their schedule because of Ignite. I mean, everyone is, it feels like right now. So I want to just give a big shout out to them because they're trying to do some more initiatives in the grassroots, and they seem pretty genuine when I talked to them today about what they're doing. You can follow them on 365 Respawn on X to get more information on their Discord. Their missions to build like consistent space for grassroots and rising talent to thrive. Not just Marvel Rivals, they have other competitions that they'll be doing for that too, but they're eventually going to have LANs as well for Marvel Rivals and other titles. So if that's something you're interested in and looking to actually participate in something like that, definitely keep an eye on that Discord. They'll have more information. I think they have a Start GG link up for that as well. But yeah, that's all the like extra news. I know there's like Rivals Fight Night we could talk about. We saw NV dominates as always. We saw VP do well themselves, so no big surprises there on that kind of stuff. But any final thoughts about the upcoming season, Ignite, things of that sort? We'll start with Cuffy and then go down the line. What are you feeling right now, Cuffy?
What am I feeling? I feel like the tournament is gonna go well. Like I'm pretty confident about competing. A fun fact about my time with Arius, because obviously this is a lot of the Arius roster is like still here, like the core, essentially, especially when we're talking about staff. The only team that I've ever lost to in officials with Arius is Shroud X, but it happens that we've lost against them 3 times. They just have to. They're our
They just have your number.
basically.
They got your number.
They've beaten us 3 times. We've beaten them once. Never played against the NBs or the Shikis because we don't really get many invitational spots. We've had the Harriet tournament where we came first and we went knocked out Magnets, knocked out Shroud X, and then we beat Luminosity in the finals. And that's the last tournament we've competed in since MRC. So we're on good form and good set of people around me. So yeah, I'm looking to cause an upset because I know that we are quite disrespected. I've definitely felt disrespected based on our results and based on the treatment that we've been getting. So I'm ready to cause havoc.
Ready to prove
Let 'em
yourself.
know.
Yeah.
Let them know.
That's what we like to hear. Awesome to see you guys get picked up by Nightmare, get the invite into Ignite, and really excited to see how you guys perform in that group stage as well. Ooh, that's a good question from Fate, and I'll put this one to you, Knuten. What are your predictions for the best region for finals and mid-season finals for Ignite? Like, who will place first, second, and third? Ooh.
I think it's EMEA, Asia, and then NA. I think that's like the 3 main ones. No Flame, and I'm very biased because I come from Counter-Strike. But what I've seen from NA team so far, I've really have not been impressed. And there's definitely time for NA teams to grow. And maybe we've just not scrimmed the right NA teams. I mean, like, because it's hard to set up scrims, right? But yeah. So NA stands for near airport, Go home. That's a good one. No, but yeah, in all seriousness, I think that all the teams have a fighting chance. But like my observations, and it's very biased, obviously, is that standing. And to my final thoughts, actually, I don't want to talk much about Ignite because I'm still
That's
new.
fair.
I'm still new in my roster. Again, we had a break where half the team was out. I came back in. So I don't want to say too much. I do want to give a small shout out to all the small leagues, and all, because without a tier 2 scene, guys, this game is not going to prosper, right? So we need to cherish the tier 2 scene, and to anyone who is, helping create these tier 2 tournaments and just leagues, it's super important. And if you want to take that initiative, do it now. And become involved. Like it's a very good initiative, and we need it in the scene. Tier 2 is just as important as Tier 1. Otherwise, the scene is gonna die. There's gonna be no prospects, and it's just gonna be like Overwatch, and we don't want that, right? So let's do that. And that's my final thoughts.
Those are some great thoughts. I mean, round of applause for that, because we definitely need Tier 2 to exist in esports, and I wish more developers and more communities and things of that sort supported a burgeoning Tier 2 ecosystem, because it helps just be a feeder into the pro scene that's out there. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, collegiate's the new Tier 2. I think collegiate has its own space to, foster talent in a specific way, but not everyone can afford to go to college, and not everyone's going to be accepted to these specific institutions. So still having Tier 2 as an option is very important, in my opinion, for that specifically. But last but not least, what are your final thoughts about the season upcoming, everything that's been happening so far, and anything else you can think of?
I'm amped. I think the patch is really, really dope. Got a lot of what I either directly asked for or didn't know that I was asking for. My biggest picture, less about like the scene, less about this like direct new season and more about the scene in general, right? I mean, I'm new to the scene, but everybody's new to the scene because the scene is new to us. And like getting a chance to meet you, Cuffy, meet you, Knuten, and get a chance to like check the pulse of the players, get a vibe check for what everybody's like. This is a good scene. We see the organizations coming out of the woodwork doing their thing. I used to have to beg players to give a shit about Tier 2. and Knutten's up here on his own soapbox, like saying everything that I say at the end of a CRL broadcast or the end of a Deadlock broadcast. Like, please, I beg you, pay attention to tier 2. It's, like, that's my monologue. So, you know, I like to see that the players are in the right spot. I think that the game just feels good, and the patch looks dope with the large-scale development of the esports space. You've got MRC, MRI, millions of dollars on the line, plus the Valhalla and all the other community guys. Like, one of the cooler things about being involved in esports as a fan or otherwise is seeing the invention of a new subculture. Like, you know, think about it. 2 years ago, there wasn't a Marvel Rivals fan because there wasn't a Marvel Rivals game. Now we have entire businesses built around the game. Now we have people dedicating hours of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the beginning of something big. It's got Marvel's name on it. So it's just really cool to see like a scene explode. And I've seen a lot of scenes start, not have the right energy, and then kind of fall apart. And Marvel's got the right energy. So I'm amped.
Shout out to the devs as well. I mean, the receptiveness that they have had to make changes on the fly in between like the big mid-season updates is commendable. I mean, we haven't really seen that be adapted by a lot of different companies out there, and it might just be due to the size of NetEase, but the Marvel Rivals team in the grand scheme of NetEase itself is relatively small in comparison to that. And I know they're putting a lot of heart into this game and a lot of extra attention and effort into it to make it to where it is now and where it can be, as they were talking about potential 10 years of plans in the future. So it's like they're big fans of this genre. They want this to be the best esport out there. And I think they're on the right track to get it to that point as well. So, I mean, again, shout out to the devs, shout out to the players, because this would never exist without players, of course, and people continuing to be interested in all the leaks and lore and everything else that's out there. I mean, the channels that are just doing that too, keeping people involved and engaged in it. And I just can't wait to see where we're at, like, you know, 5 years down the road, where everyone says, oh, what's your 5-year plan? Well, mine's to hopefully see more burgeoning scenes like Marvel Rivals pop up, but also see this game still kicking it out there, because it's healthy for the ecosystem of esports that there's more titles like this, and seeing that there are more opportunities for people to compete and make a living and actually like prove their worth and showcase their passions in esports is always a great thing. So thank you all for tuning in to episode 5, our longest one yet, but I think it was a lot of much needed conversation of Rivals and Rants. I've been Vodible. We've had Cuffy here, the coach of Nightmare, Knuten here from Zero Tenacity, and F. the connoisseur of esports knowledge and everything else you can ask for. And thank you, Jesse, just staying alive as our producer in the background, and anyone who's been tuning in today. We'll see you on the next one, hopefully next week, probably around Wednesday or so, right before Ignite starts on June 5th. But make sure you tune in and cheer on the teams competing in Split 2 that's happening this week. We'll see you on the next one.